Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today. Welcome to episode 266 of Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. We hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic today. I'm joined by the man whose BlackRock saw a challenge we did not quite anticipate in 2025. We'll talk a lot about that. Lord Cognito, how are you doing today, good sir?
Doing good, doing better. This was the debut, the return to the gym. I was cleared this week. Good. So I'm very happy, man. Very happy, man, but very tired, man, because 2 to 3 weeks of no gym, you realize how out of shape you get. Yeah. So I wasn't worried about, in my mind, I'm vain. So I'm worried about muscle mass. I'm going to lose all the strength and da-da-da. That wasn't too bad. It's just basically the cardio and just how tired I was after. My body was like, yo, you haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I'm exhausted. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just kind of getting back. It's been, 2 days straight. And then I'll probably after this, I'll try to sneak a leg day in. So, slowly working my way back in. You know what I'm saying?
How many days a week are we doing now that we're back in the gym? Are we starting slow?
Yeah, start slow. I'm gonna do 4 days, but I'm doing for each one body part, then give myself 3 days, for the weekend and stuff like that, and just kind of ease. And even when I'm not going like 100% super hard. Like I'm just like, and actually I'm using a lot more machines with this just to get my motion, my control.
Smart.
Yeah, I'm not
a machine shamer. I know a lot of people are like, free weights are the way you grow and gain. And I'm like, yeah, it's true, but like, dude, if you're trying to learn form, nothing better. Or just remember the form.
Just remembering form, and again, controlling a little lot of weight, just making sure my technique and everything is good. But it felt good to be back, man. I definitely did. What's going on with you, man?
Let's see here. I was telling you my wife's going to be gone for 5 days, so I think I actually might be bored. I think I actually might find a way to be bored. I'm never bored, but like, she keeps my life exciting, but I literally made a whole plan of like things I'm going to do while she's gone. Like, I don't do this in my life ever, bro. I'm just like, I hang out with my wife all the time. So I'm just like, dude, the house is going to be silent. I'm just here with my 2 beautiful dogs. And, I don't know. Like, I'm not one of those dudes. Like I see dudes who are like, yeah, my wife's going away. Let's go.
Party time.
Yeah. I'm like, man, she's going away.
That's your best friend. That's your best friend.
100%. Yeah, so I'm a little bummed, but I'm making it through. I have some house projects planned. I want to surprise her with some of them. So yeah,
no doubt. We're gonna keep the
little living room makeover.
Okay. I like that. You got the little project.
I'm a little nervous, bro. I am not a handyman. But so like, there's a chance where I like drill something into a wall that wasn't supposed to,
Oh man,
I'm like really doing my research and taking my time, quietly planning on the side. Just like, this is what I'm gonna do while she's
That's
gone.
That's what's up.
Otherwise, a lot of Resident Evil, a lot of reading, a lot of streaming. Streaming's been a lot of fun. Been getting that back online this year, like I talked about last week, and just dude, the support and the love. It's different when you're live interacting versus like the comments. Feels very meaningful. Feels very purposeful. Feels. I was never getting like comfortable or complacent, but I think I got so used to reading like shitty stuff about myself that like when you get to interact with those people and like it feels like a real connection, it means a lot. It's just like, I kind of felt like I really needed that. So not that I think people like everyone hates me, but I think I just get accustomed to post video because you get a decent viewership. You're going to drag in people who, don't know you at all. And they're going to say whatever they say about you. And that's kind of it. But this kind of evolution of that, what that can be, because I used to stream a lot, but I got out of it for a while and then stayed away because my audience had grown. I'm like, I don't know what to expect, but I've just been really happy with it. So that's been a fun wrinkle in my week. About twice a week I've been doing it. And just look forward to it. I have fun with it. And I'm really excited for what the future holds on that. So I've been doing good. It's been kind of helping regulate my work. Like instead of doing like a full video production, it's cool just to go live and hang with the audience and just talk gaming news. And so that's been been a good time.
No, it's dope, man. I love that back and forth interaction. And even sometimes when someone says something a little off and you can respond to it in real time, I've seen situations where the relationship is like, oh, okay, now I see where you were coming from. Or, it's just a more synergistic thing. Because I like it. I like it. I've always liked it.
Yeah, because I forgot what some guy wrote in about, but he said something about a game and I like gave like a counter thought and like he actually DM'd me after. He's like, great point. I didn't think of that. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I don't remember the last time I read that. Like,
facts.
I love that shit. So,
I love that interaction. That's the thing that makes it really cool.
100%. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. Just like it seems like Cog and I are doing this week here. If you're not, we're here to pick you up, get you away from whatever's bothering you right now. We're going to talk a little Xbox. We're going to dare to venture into the land of the green. And we're going to talk other gaming news this week. But before we do that, of course, if you go to patreon.com/laststandmedia, you can sign up over there for early ad-free access to our show, Defining Duke, among the many others that we have hosted on the LSM platform, like Sacred Symbols. They did a very interesting sacred streaming episode lately.
I heard about this.
Yeah.
I heard about this. I haven't seen it, but I heard about this.
Yeah. Good watch. It's a good watch. So sacred very streaming, check out Punching Up. Summons on, of course, with Lord Bradley Ellis. Please check out all our shows. But you can also write into patreon.com/laststandmedia like only 12 of you did this week. What the hell, guys? You gave me a light work week. I was like, all right, 12 write-ins? Okay. I'm not begging for it this week. You guys want to, 12 of you want to write in? Okay. We'll do it that way. But one of the write-ins here comes from MT0.
All right, let's go.
He says, howdy, Dukes. Maddie, I'm stoked to hear you're reading the Witcher books. You actually got me to start The Last Wish. Wanted to drop the Dukes a few other book recommendations for the gaming/reading overlap. Check out Roadside Picnic. This book is inspired by Stalker and one of my all-time favorites. Also, can't recommend the Metro series enough for Metro and Fallout fans. I even discovered there's a ton of Resident Evil books, so who knows? I might check out one of those in the RE9 run-up. Have a not gaming, but three-body problem is the GOAT trilogy of all sci-fi kind of day. I just wanted to put this out here because, man, I've been falling in love with reading. Like, big time. Like, really choosing it over gaming some nights now, bro.
You sound like Rand, man. I feel like I'm talking to Rand now.
He's been on my mind a lot. I'm like, is this what it's like?
Yeah, Rand is in that pocket.
Dude, let me just run you through the history of Maddie and books. Like, I'm no idiot, but books never captured my imagination the way other forms of entertainment did. And I think the answer to that wasn't even like, oh, you're not reading the right things. I was like reading what interested me. Like, for example, I enjoyed a good Star Wars book. You know, that was cool for me. But I just like, it was just kind of these particular ones. Like, I love Red Rising. Golden Sun is my favorite book of all time. But it was just these pockets I'd find. But like growing up, like when we got those reading assignments over the summer, they said like read this whole book. Oh, I just didn't do it. You're talking like, oh, I did it begrudgingly. I'm like, I just didn't. Because, and you know why I didn't? Because I was wise to the teacher's games, bro. I don't know if I was in a blessed school system,
what you know,
but it was a controversy every year. You would have to read this book. Summer would be done, and then you go into school, and normally your English teacher would build off that book you read and be like, here's your early writing assignments and whatnot. Bro, we never got assignments on these books. It was just, here's some summer reading recommendations. So, bro, fool me once and that was it. Like, I read one summer and I pulled up and nothing happened. I went, no.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, you're not hoodwinking me. I'm going to play more COD. That was that simple. So, yeah, like for me, just like got away from reading. It was super infrequent. I love self-help books, but that was like the main form of reading because I thought that captured my brain more. Like, I'm working on myself. But then I started to lose interest in that. And then like, dude, the Witcher series, I'm on book 3 now. I've read 3 books in like 2 weeks.
Damn.
Crazy, dude. But I knew, okay, so for those who are listening out there, I don't mind self-owning myself here. No, like for me, it's a big deal, like reading 140 pages in like a window of time, like a few hours or whatever like that. I would I started reading the Sword of Destiny and I was like halfway through and I finished the book that same night. I went, holy shit, dude, like that's never happened to me. I was like ready to go downstairs and play Resident Evil 4, but I was like, no, this book's really good. Like I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah, man. So like I've been on this reading grind. I'm just telling y'all, if you're like me, if like what I just said resonated with you, I really recommend these Witcher books. Like they really pull something out of me where like I have a friend who's also reading them and we're just like texting constantly, going back and forth. I just feel like these books capture like character interactions and dialogue and world building, of course, really well. And like I mentioned, I'm really ramping up to that Witcher 3 replay in anticipation for what I believe is going to be that new expansion that they're probably dropping in May.
Fire, bro.
So it's gonna be an experience. So
you're in the right pocket.
Yeah, I'm loving it right now. But just wanted to put that recommendation out there one more time, Cog. I wanted to open the door here, I should say, in case there was any reading recs from you as a fellow Duke.
No, sadly. I'm kind of like you. I'm exactly like you prior to your rediscovery, which is kind of like, it got to be so specific. It's usually a pocket. And, I've done, obviously historically, it's funny you telling you like your school story and stuff like that. And then, I fell onto those tricks and I was like, I ain't doing that. Or, I became Cliff Notes Cogs. What's Cliff Notes? I was like, this is the hustle when they try to quiz you and you really get the essence of it. I mean, they got hip to that game later on as you get to high school. Like that. They start knowing that they formulate the questions anti-Cliff Notes, and then you like, did you read it? You're like, damn it, the hustle's over. But for me, the early stuff was like, I remember in elementary, like Choose Your Adventure books. I remember this one, they're very gamified books. They were called Grail Quest. I absolutely loved it. Bro, pen and a paper, you had dice, you had your little hit points, and you had to be honest. If you did this, you lost this fight or whatever, you go to page 13 and you know what I'm saying, all this other stuff. So I did that. As I got older, I think for me, it's like autobiographies seem to be my thing. I remember when I had Cliffy on, his book. I love, obviously, games industry book. I mean, Schreier, Bliss White Pixels, that kind of stuff. I love the industry. But it's very specific. I mean, hip hop, I had a big Mobb Deep Prodigy fan. His book, My Infamous Life, caused a lot of problems in the hood and things he was saying that probably should have stayed in Queensbridge but got out. And it caused so much stuff between rappers and stuff. I was like, I got to get this book. I got to know what's going on. So matter of fact, I'll give another one. It's sports is yes. What's the Conseco book? What's his name? Loaded. I forgot the name of it. The one where he snitched it. He was like, Maguire, I injected him and this and that. I was like, remember he blew the lid off the baseballs. Man. So again, I think my thing is autobiographies, gaming. And I give you credit. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even know about that last Ronin. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? But I think that's probably it right now. It's got to be. And then obviously, I mean, I don't really consider it because like comics and novels, you know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff. So that I'm still, I struggle here and there. My medium is always going to be gaming, number one. Same kind of thing. But I will admit, listening to you and Rand lately has got me thinking like, you know what? There are some ones that I was curious about. And I'm like, you know what? Let me throw that little basket right next to the restroom. And just,
that's a good way of doing it. Yeah. My restroom trick is Sudoku. I have like a little book.
You told me.
Yeah. I'm like an old man now, but honestly, I kind of love it. I felt like I wasn't using my brain enough. I don't know how else to describe it. Like outside of like what I was doing for gaming, like I felt I was almost like losing a step. I was like, I need to start reading more. I need to start like using all of my capacity. And I feel much better. Maybe I'm just fulfilling something too, but like since I've started reading more, I'm like, I need to like, I want to be a writer. Like you can't be a writer if you don't read a ton. You got to like start seeing how the best do it. And so I've been trying to, over this last few months, like really start to embrace reading more. And it's amazing how educational it is just by experiencing. Like games already did that, but like seeing it in another form, just like I was doing with movies and whatnot. I've been a real late bloomer with like a lot of the things I really love in my life. I've recognized that about myself because I just went into gaming and just only stayed in gaming. That like going out beyond it and exploring like movies and TV and books in all these different ways has really like fulfilled me. It's been exciting. So yeah, man, if anyone's looking for a good read and you're in that same position that I was in, I really recommend these Witcher books. There's a lot of them. The games build on top of them, so you can have like a gaming oriented goal. Nice. And let me know if anyone picks them up. I'm on Blood of Elves right now and enjoying it quite a bit. It's so funny, by the way, because these first two books are like short story compilations. They're like connected, but it's like a bunch of short stories. This third book is like an actual, like they literally write on the inside panel, like the main saga of The Witcher begins. Like you take like 3 books to really start the main story. But the questions they ask and the way they set up Geralt as a character and Ciri and Yennefer, just it's phenomenal. It's really like I'm ready to be a complete Witcher head. This might be the moment where like a fantasy series overtakes a sci-fi with cyberpunk. Like I could see a world where that happens at this rate. Really falling in love here. So highly recommended by your boy.
No doubt.
Y'all didn't come here for the book club though. So let's talk games.
Defining Duke and Xbox podcast is brought to you by Shopify. Starting a new podcast or business isn't just hard. It can be downright intimidating to take that leap of faith. Trust me, when starting Defining Duke, IOP, Lords of Gaming, and Lords After Dark, I had to figure out everything on my own, and it was beyond intimidating. Despite all my fears and hesitations, launching a podcast business was ultimately the right thing to do. But it's also great when you have a partner like Shopify on your side to help. Tackle all those important tasks in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics and more. No need to save multiple websites or try to figure out what platform is hosting the tool that you need. Everything is all in one place, making your life easier and your business operations smoother. Best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And if you get stuck, Shopify's always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/Duke. Go to shopify.com/Duke. That's shopify.com/Duke.
This first one, basically a headline for our show, if you will, but I wanted to dive into it. Have you tracked the Ashes of Creation situation, Lord Cognito? You have not.
Put me on.
Okay. This story runs really deep, and in my video on it, for those who watched it, they'll know I pulled out an onion for this one. I put a physical onion, and I said, like, if you go layer by layer, as you get deeper, it's like this. There's something at this core, right? Now, I'm not saying you eat the onion core, but the idea is that there's layers to this onion. So it starts off on the outside. Like, I think if you look at the situation for Ashes of Creation at face value, you may have heard through the grapevine or people talking online, like, oh, game launched in early access, didn't meet expectations, it's gone now. Like, we've seen that kind of song and dance before with online games. What's really interesting about this one is Ashes of Creation has been in development at Intrepid Studios since 2015 as an MMO. It was headed up by a man named Stephen Sheriff, who wanted to bring back the glory days of like old MMO RPGs. So to help accomplish this, they launched a Kickstarter in 2017. They reached over $3 million.
Wow.
So a massive Kickstarter success, right? Keep in mind, 2017, this game released into early access December of last year. So yeah, this thing was kicking around for a long while. This wasn't the only money that was invested into this game by its fans. Eventually, they would sell you alpha packs for $500. You would play in the closed alpha. So you'd basically be a tester of the game for $500, which is insane per player. Eventually, they'd sell alpha 2 packs for $250. Now, throughout all of this, Stephen Sheriff and his team have claimed there's no board, there's no investors, no one except them and their community. And that's why they went crowdfunding. So when the closed alpha impressions were starting to leak and people were saying the game's just not there yet, it was quite a surprise down the line when we learned that they were going to enter early access. There just wasn't enough time to recover from all of the problems the game had that they needed to work on for probably a couple more years to get it out the door. It just wasn't there. So they put it out there. It goes on to Steam to mixed reviews. And after the mixed reviews hit, the game then gets shut down and pulled off of Steam with the entire development team laid off.
Oh, wow.
Everyone.
Wow.
And Stephen Sheriff puts out a message on his Discord account. And I'm going to pull it up here just to make sure I am quoting it correctly. He says, I can make a limited statement in my personal capacity and not behalf of the company regarding the situation. Control of the company shifted away from me, and the board began directing actions that I could not ethically agree with or carry out. As a result, I chose to resign in protest rather than lend my name or authority to decisions I could not ethically support. Following my resignation, much of the senior leadership team resigned. Following these departures, the board made the decision to issue WARN Act notices and proceed with a mass layoff. I cannot responsibly speak to further details at this time due to the ongoing legal and governance matters. What I can say is that the developers and staff acted in good faith and deserve better than the uncertainty they are now facing. I am incredibly dismayed by the situation here. So I think when, again, you're taking all of this at face value here, you're like, it sounds like a shit show, but like, there's no clear villain here. It's the board, right? It sounds like we're talking about the Outer Worlds at this point. Like the board.
The board, yeah. The board.
Who is the board, right? Again, right. I have a quote right here from an interview with MMORPG.com. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm pulling up my old video files here. Where Steve says, "We aren't governed by greedy corporate overlords. I'm funding the project, so no investors or a board to answer to. No publishers to appease. We speak with, not to, our community, and we actually listen to feedback and value / respect our players." So that was the quote as of 2021, if I remember correctly. And here we are now saying the board took over. We're like, who is the board here? Now, the layoffs were confirmed because then like the creative marketing, communication, and social strategy leader at Intrepid Studios posted on her LinkedIn that like not only was she laid off, but the entire development team was laid off here. Wow. Now, as this game released in early access, another layer I wanted to throw out here is that they did promise they wanted to make this game something ambitious, durable, and worthy of your investment. 2 days later, it got shut down here. Now, to the point of the board here, where it gets a little bit fishy, because it ties a little bit into Steven's background.
Okay.
So Reddit scooped up that Intrepid Studios has a new owner for the Ashes of Creation's debt. That woman's name is Cairn Borrego. Cairn Borrego was the co-founder of Vima, who's a company that sold dietary supplements. And that company was shut down in 2015 by the FTC for engaging in deceptive practices and being a pyramid scheme. Now, what's interesting about this is that Stephen Sheriff also worked in an MLM, multi-level marketing, right? So pyramid scheme stuff. He worked there for a while, ran his own storefront, and there was a link between him and Cairn at one point. And so now people are looking at how, okay, we have like two pyramid scheme people. People were already suspicious about all of this. There was a whole interview done where Steven was asked about this. He's like, yes, it's unfair that people would connect these dots. That was my past. He got into real estate afterwards. Then he got into game development, and they've been getting money since. If you look at on the California Secretary of State website, you'll see that Intrepid Studios has debt to a ton of people. It says Cairn Borrego, Yaya Legacy Trust, Lendistry, Employment Development Department, Forward Financing, Employment Development Department again, Robert Dawson, JP Morgan, Chase Bank. So what I read this as is that as they were also taking money from their fans, they're taking investments and accruing all this debt. And when you look at to kind of put a bow on this, and I want to get your thoughts, when you look at what happened with the Kickstarter situation here, there was an interesting disclaimer that was put on their Kickstarter page that said, in the case that Ashes of Creation does not launch, we promise to refund all backers in full. So when you're a company that's out of money, right, and you're borrowing it from people, you're accruing debt, and you know that if this game does not launch in full, that you have to refund everybody $3+ million that you do not have, what do? You take your game that's clearly in alpha and you launch it into early access to qualify, hopefully, as a launch, get around the whole refund period, pull the rug. And that's what we're kind of left with right now. There's a lot of questions still to be answered definitively, but it is a very, very shady situation. And to me, a very obvious scam in the works here. Like someone's making out big here. It doesn't change the fact that like maybe they didn't make money on sales, but it doesn't change the fact that for over a decade, someone was like, like the head of the company was still collecting money constantly on top of what their fans funded. So, Cog, your thoughts on all of this?
Thank you for bringing this to my attention. This is, I guess, a reaction to this stuff catching up. I just saw the name of the game, kind of catch headlines, and I didn't know what was going on. So, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, this definitely sounds sus. Let's just call it what it is. I think for me, when you obviously the connections and the pyramid scheme stuff, that definitely sounds shady for sure. But I think the getting it out into the early access to try to absolve from a refund, 3.2, and then when you learn that there's all these different investments into the game from all these different other sources and stuff like that, is a red flag. But I think the thing that I'm stuck on the most is that what the claiming that there is a board versus there isn't a board, right? And that to me that doesn't sit right with me, because literally in the initial statement, right, he was just kind of like, he's resigning, and the board is doing what the board is doing. But then what you're saying is prior to that, there was like a literal discussion stating that there is none. Mm-hmm. Right. So this is where it really gets murky. And it's just a shame because, as a person who loves, some of my favorite games have gotten, kickstarted, and from a gamer, a consumer perspective, you're putting your trust into this thing actually happening and coming out, and then being in good faith. And then obviously you love the protection. Like, hey, if this doesn't happen, you guys are going to get your money back, whatever. And that's the part right here that it just smells funny. I hope, what's the gentleman's name? Steven, has a statement to kind of get in front of that, or the quote unquote board that exists or does not exist has a statement in reference to that. But yeah, this is just ugly all around. And then now all these people are laid off. The game is where the game is. And now it's officially, it's in early access, but is it shut down? Like, what is the ultimate status as of right now of Ashes of Creation?
It got pulled off of Steam.
So it pulled off.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to get the lawyers involved, bro. It's
available for sale. Store page is up right now, though. So if you go to the store page, you'll see it's an early access game, but it's not available for purchase. And the game currently sits at mostly negative, with recent reviews over 3,000 of them being overwhelmingly negative. So, it's gonna evolve. There's gonna be more to the situation. Steam is involved now.
I was just about to ask what Steam's position.
They're investigating the situation. Mm-hmm. So this reminds me a lot of the day before, where that was a clear scam attempt.
Right.
And there's so many threads to pull out on this, on sort of what I think about when I see this, because number one, it's like, it's why people don't trust online games. Like, this is a situation. The day before is another situation. I think of what happened with New World, where you had a moderate success. Like, it was a big success at launch, but it did well for a while. It kind of fell off. It had a resurgence with Eternum and just didn't gain all that steam again. And just because it wasn't doing like incredible numbers, Amazon shuts it down. It just feels like all these multiplayer games, Concord, like, just thrown out, not an immediate success, dies, right? I think that trust with online games has just been completely eradicated. I also feel like as an industry, we are just like begging for legislation to get involved. We are begging for regulation, and I don't mean in a good way. Like, right. We've always self-regulated, which is why we've been able to keep people at bay who come in and don't really know games. They're like, violence, what is this? But we're getting to the point where like more and more fishy, suspicious, or just outright outrageous scams are occurring on a high profile level, where like government's going to look at this and wonder if consumers are being protected. And we already had that whole push with like Stop Killing Games, which began with Ubisoft and The Crew. I mean, like, actually, no, like, we're taking this offline. It all was centered around like an online pass for the game, which promised the game would be online for much longer than it actually was. Right. So I just feel like the industry is now at a point where it's so big and so much money is flowing through it that bad actors have gotten involved and have extracted cash from it. I mean, this even goes down to like more smaller contained levels, like we're just long development timelines where nothing of a product really amasses from it. There are still people getting paid month to month for that. Bonuses are getting paid out. Like, people are collecting money from this and not delivering. And that's a industry-wide problem. And I just feel like we're steaming toward a future where it's like government's going to get involved, because it's just too fishy. And we don't want that. So well said. Bothers me a lot.
Well said, because that level of deception and shady business practices put unnecessary spotlight on the games industry when we were kind of self-regulated, and the integrity of these products generally came out. But as this happens on a bigger scale, as these games cost more money, as the crowdfunding gets involved and development time takes longer, and then you have consumer outrage saying, I'm going to take some form of legal action because I felt duped. Now that gets governing entities and governing bodies involved to take a very magnifying glass look on our industry. And yeah, to your point, not that, I don't feel like people need to be treated fair. Of course they need to be treated fair and not ripped off. But I always struggle when once that comes in, then it gets murky as far as how much hand regulating and influence governments and stuff like that have on an art form and stuff like that. But people have to be protected. And that is number one. So yeah, I'm going to be monitoring this. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I did not know it was this deep. I just saw the name going around and I didn't know about the game, but Yeah, this sucks, man. This sucks. And there's a lot of explaining, and legality is about to happen for sure. With this 3.2 million? Yeah, it's going down.
Especially because now we have to discuss, like, does early access constitute as a full release? Did they actually get around it by calling it early access?
Right.
Like, you know, that's going to be another interesting part of this conversation. So we'll see how, I guess, Steam gets involved and handles this, but time will tell. For now, we got another little suspicious situation I wanted to bring to your attention. This has to do with dispatch. So Nintendo in the past has like censored games before. PlayStation has censored games before. I think of like Devil May Cry, where it's like they hit a girl's ass for some reason. And I was just like, okay, guys, really? I'm not usually one to get all like crazy about that stuff, but it can be weird from time to time. With Nintendo, at least your brain can jump to this point of, hey, this is a kid-friendly system. Okay, so like, you know, maybe they're trying to be a little overprotective because Nintendo thinks they're everybody's parent, even though they have like Doom the Dark Ages here. So Dispatch obviously came out. I have not played it, but I know the game has nudity in it, and it's come to Switch now. And what was not really disclaimed in a loud way is that the game is censored with black bars. So there are parts of the game where you will see certain body parts and just black bars appear, and they kind of like scale based on like what's happening in the scene, whether it's the chest, between the legs, et cetera, right? So a lot of people saw this, and the first point of anger was like, oh my God, what is Nintendo doing? Nintendo responds and they say, we have our own content guidelines, but we leave it to developers to make a decision. So they kind of got themselves out of the way, saying like, hey, yes, they didn't follow our guidelines, but how they handled it was up to them. We didn't interfere with the project. So Ad Hoc, the developers behind Dispatch, step out and they're like, yeah, it's our fault ultimately. Like, if people are upset, we get it. Basically, they worked with Nintendo where when they were putting the disclaimer for the game, they put the disclaimer in for like the censorship in the disclaimer section. So it looked like it was buried. That's how they explained it. But now they have it in like the about the game section. So it's very clear and upfront, like parts of this game are censored. What we didn't get an answer to, though, in all of this was really like, why, though? Like, why did this have to be censored? Not to be all, again, like troublesome here, but when you think about games that launched with your Switch 2, Cyberpunk 2077, loaded with nudity, loaded with beheadings, like loaded with everything that makes it M4 mature. How'd that get through uncensored? So people started to blame Sarah, which was the Japanese rating board. And they're thinking to themselves, okay, Cyberpunk was censored specifically in Japan, which I was not aware of this, but they have a version for Japan that changes all of like the billboards in the game. It changes, like there's no nudity, like everyone's always wearing underwear at the very most. Like it's still lewd, I guess it would be the right word, but it's very much like a censored version of the game. So people are wondering, okay, well, if that's the case, why didn't Ad Hoc just do that for Dispatch? Again, why could games that are clearly M for mature in all the ways that Dispatch is get around this and release uncensored for most audiences, while this game
the Japan version
could not?
Yeah.
So they responded again to all of this, and they said that they are legally unable to provide any further comment on why separate SKUs were not possible for different regions. And they also said there is no possibility for an uncensored physical edition either, and that they have no physical edition plan. So people were wondering, like, maybe they'll patch it out and put it on a physical cart and sell that, and that'll be creating some value for that cart for players who want the pure experience, but they're not even doing that. So I'm curious what this reads like to all of you here as to what's going on with this Dispatch situation, because it's more like as we got more answers, we had more questions, and we really haven't hit the bottom as to why. My guess was that they probably thought people wouldn't have cared as much,
right,
for whatever reason. And I think they pretty much tried to take the easy road of, I wouldn't call it lazy, but let's just do one SKU, all censored on Switch, instead of like a separate one for this rating board and this one for everyone else. Like, I'm guessing that's probably what happened here. It just sounds like they got cute with the situation and someone made a really bad call, and they're trying to just get away from that and not really let them take the public fall. Because I feel like any more answers at this point now would be like, go change it then. It seems like it's well within your control. Go change it then. They're probably, well, we don't want to spend that money. It doesn't really matter, guys. That's how I'm reading it. But I'm curious how you take this situation.
Yeah, again, this is one that I've seen, discussed within Lognet, internally. And I was, obviously I want to play this game because I've heard so much good things about Dispatch, you know what I'm saying? And before I answer this though, Ad Hoc, I'm going to assume is a smaller team. I'm going to assume, right?
I mean, it's a safe suggestion. I don't know how big their company is. Hold on.
Right. Because it just seems so strange to me as far as like, okay, well, let's do the, uncensored physical Switch release, and then let's kind of knock this thing out. And, from my understanding now, the Dispatch devs, as of February 2nd, I'm saying they can't comment on why it didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. So that, I don't know, man. Like, I agree with you. Based from the outside looking in, it just seems like, maybe they didn't do their due diligence with just trying to just push this through, as opposed to going through the proper measures that Nintendo needs in that region to get this game out in the way it has. Because we all agree, we've seen way worse, stuff out on the platform, and especially, like I said, Cyberpunk as a launch title, kind of thing. It's one thing over in Japan, right, where you have to respect that board and do everything in compliance with that. There's another thing with the domestic releases as well. So it just, again, until I get more information, I am going to assume Ad Hoc is maybe smaller. I am going to assume that maybe they just didn't do enough due diligence to get this thing channeled properly and get it released in a way so that they could have had that release that they wanted with adult content. Because from if I understand this game, people love this game. So no one wants to see the black boxes and all this other stuff. And then when you can't answer why you just don't do a physical thing, to me, it gives the impression that you were scrambling, that you're still, you know what I mean? So that's just me. But where you at with this?
Yeah, I mean, it just tells me I'm not going to play this on Switch. It's a shame because I do feel like Switch would be perfect for this.
Perfect. Hell yeah.
But I imagine this is Steam Deck verified. I also did a quick Google search to see how big their team is. Someone maybe in the comments will know. Yeah. I don't see any definitive numbers. I just know they started off with 4 developers. I don't think that's what they're at now by any stretch of the imagination, but I could not find their team size here. I would also lean on the idea of like them being somewhat smaller, not at least not AAA. Right. I imagine just given how risky a Telltale endeavor would be, that most of the budget for this game was probably spent on his voice talent, because they got everyone, including like Aaron Paul. So
yeah, that's a big deal. And again, if you're smaller, again, I'm assuming you could be one of those situations like, yo, we just do that one version, we be able to get this joint out. We did, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm thinking it just reads of like the easiest choice.
The easiest choice. That's what it feels like. I don't want to put, but I can only go by what it feels like based on the information that we have right now. So yeah, I'm with you on that one.
All right, Cog, let's get into this next story here, focused on a game that's releasing this week, and that's Nioh 3. Nioh is what we like to call an incidental exclusive, right? Like, I think the plan was always for it to eventually go multi-platform at one point, but it started off on PlayStation 4 with Nioh 1. Nioh 2 is PS4 exclusive, and even right now, Nioh 3, you can only get on your PS5 and your PC. However, according to the small print in the trailer, as documented by IGN, the PS5 console exclusivity period looks like it's set to run for just 6 months, meaning that this game can debut on other consoles like Nintendo Switch 2 or Xbox Series X as early as August 6th, 2026. And this would be the first Nioh game available on any other platform outside of PlayStation. Publisher Koei Tecmo also may be holding off on porting to other consoles for technical reasons, but given that like Team Ninja and Xbox have a pretty good relationship, you'd imagine, given like Ninja Gaiden 4, I feel like Koei Tecmo would be interested in supporting the platform here. But Nioh 3 reviews just dropped on OpenCritic. It's sitting at an 86. It seems like this is a really great game. I'm excited to dive into this one for sure. This is on my list with Daybreak for games that I'm playing a little bit later this year. But I'm really happy to see this one reviewed well, because admittedly, like, again, after like Lies of P, I'm spoiled, right? Like I think I've become a little bit of a elitist, but also I would throw out there that like Lies of P might be like the crown,
the goat for you. Yeah, that's the goat.
Like I talk about it too much, and I think about it too much, and I recommend it too much for like, I'm sure the audience already put this together way before I did, but I think I've just accepted that. I'm like, yeah, even more than Bloodborne is like where I'm at, which I was very hesitant to. So Nioh 2 was always like, to me, a goated Souls-like game. I was a little worried with some of the ideas Nioh 3 was exploring, because I saw like, oh, it's open field. I'm like, oh, Elden Ring just went open world. Like, I like that Nioh always charted its own course. That's what made Nioh 1 so excited. I didn't care that you're playing as William. I love that this game respected the Souls-like sensibility, but also put some Ninja Gaiden, some Samurai Warriors, some Diablo sensibilities, all these together into one. And I think in that wave of early Souls-like titles, right? You got Dark Souls, you got Lords of the Fallen, you got The Surge, you got these pretenders, right? But then here comes Nioh, and it just like stands out there on 2 feet and is just ready to rock. You know, that's what I loved about Nioh. It was so confident in what it knew it wanted to do, and they stuck with it. And Nioh 2 was a complete improvement on everything the first game did really well, including a great character creator. So I was worried a little bit that Nioh 3 might have been falling in line with what the competitors were doing rather than continuing to chart its own course. I'm relieved to see, as I'm reading online, like these open fields have worked really well. The challenge is really good because of the samurai and ninja modes. It's very nimble and the movement is incredible. So it seems like this is a really great game, which I just was, again, a little concerned with some of the trends I was seeing this game embrace if they could do it again. And I'm glad to see they have. So I'll definitely be picking this up a little bit later in the year, but I'm curious what you think, Cog, about Nioh coming to other platforms. Maybe I know you're not a big Souls-like guy, and unfortunately, unlike my goat Lies of P, there is no difficulty setting here. So I don't know if I can ask you if you'd really hop into this one, but dude, I know because you like Ninja Gaiden, I feel like this is a game all about being the ninja, bro. Like I feel it would speak to your sensibilities. Would you actually go through the heartache that's required for a Nioh game? After I've gotten to know you these last few years, man, I felt like a pledge of plea. I doubt that a little bit, but I'd love to hear your thoughts nonetheless, you know?
Oh, man, shout out to Nioh 3, man. We did cover it, you know, on Lords of Gaming. Shout out to my boy Dan, Infinite Ammo. He killed the review. And, you know, he is Souls through and through. And I was like, hey, what's the vibe? What's the temperature? And he's like, it's great, man. He really loved it. He had like minor nitpicks, but yeah, gave it a strong 9, man. He's like, I really enjoyed it. He's very picky with his Souls. So I like his perspective. So yeah, he has a very, and then also another Souls guy. I got to give up my brethren, my last word brethren, Ebontis. He's a Souls guy. So I was having discussions with those two. Yeah, and he was like, yo, I'm feeling it, you know, kind of thing. So the energy is good. I think in reference to, obviously with me, once they said no, accessibility, and you know, you're going to keep your purity. God bless. You know what I'm saying? I want all of you guys to thrash about with your swords and samurais and get killed 1,000 times. And I'll be watching and cheering you on from a safe distance. I'm good. But as far as the exclusivity part, I'm not too surprised because, you know, historically, Nioh I've always associated with PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? That was like a PS1, a PS4 exclusive, I believe, at one point. Yeah. And, you know, I'm impressed that it's only 6 months. Like, normally I'd be like, yo, this is a year. You ain't going to see that for a while. Or they would maintain the exclusivity throughout since they have that synonymousness with, you know, with PlayStation. So to see, 1, it's 6 months. 2, you know, the fine print does allude that it can come to other platforms. And then, like you said earlier, you know, we do know that one of the steps that I'm most proud of Xbox is kind of bridging that, you know, Koei Tecmo gap, obviously with Ninja Gaiden 4, the Platinum and the Koei Tecmo thing. Yeah. And I was actually impressed, you know, I got to toot our little horn and, you know, that, you know, they reached out. They wanted, you know, our platform, you know, if we were interested in covering it on PlayStation. And I thought that was a big step, obviously based on our work, you know, with Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that, because I felt we were fair about it. You know, we said the stuff we liked, we said the stuff we didn't like, and we call it out in the middle as far as what we felt. And, you know, obviously, you know, I had strong feelings about Ryu and like, damn, I wish they would have did more. But none of that seemed to hurt us in terms of just being honest about. You know, these days, right, when you give your honest opinion and you don't glaze everything, that some companies feel away. But Koei Tecmo and I
were just talking about that with Dragon Quest. Getting dicked around, bro. Not a fan.
That sucks.
Yeah, not a fan, man. Not a fan. But
it's unfortunate, man.
You just never. To your point, it's not about me. I'm just saying you just never know, right?
No, you never
just
know.
Gotta ride by your truth, but you just never know how it's going to play out. There are some companies that are like, more of you, please.
Yeah.
And some companies that are like, actually, that was that one sentence there. That was a little disrespectful. You're done. Until I'm out of the company, you're done. No, and then hopefully you find a new contact 5 years down the line, and they might hook you up because they have no idea who you are.
It's so real what you're saying, because a lot of what you realize, this stuff is a lot of personality driven, and sometimes the personalities Emotions become involved. And, you know, it's unfortunate because we should be judged on the merit again. And actually, me and you've had this conversation where I respect the company that says, you know what, you gave us a harsh review or a not, you know, a very critical review, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, we want to give you a code because we're either confident in our product and we want to get your feedback to see how much we've closed the gap, or maybe you would try it. And I gotta give Bungie credit, like, because I remember this with when I told you I was playing Renegades, and I was like, oh wow, this is good. And there was a huge Destiny 2 creator. He been quit Destiny. His name was Mr. Fruit, and they sent him the game and invited him or whatever. And he was like, yo, why y'all inviting me? You know, I don't even play this. I don't mess with Destiny no more. Like, it's trash. Like, I'm good on you. And the fact that he did it, he gave his honest review on it. I respect companies that do that. You know what I'm saying? Because provided you're not super disrespectful and the devs must die and all that. You know what I'm saying? You know, some dudes, you know, they get taken too far. But no, I'm with you, bro. And like I said, that's one thing I wish in the industry that we can improve on, you know what I'm saying, as far as taking the emotionality out of criticism and critical review.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's also just a very good feeling because it shows when they reach out to you, like, oh, they think they got something, you know, because they want me to step into the ring. So it's usually a good sign.
Absolutely. That's why I was humbled with this one with Nioh 3.
Yeah,
I was like, wow,
it's good.
It was super cool.
Koei Tecmo's always been good with that stuff. Their US division is like really good, where they like, I remember they gave me Atelier Yumiya last year. And like, they were like very prompt and like happy for the coverage. You know, you don't expect like a whole like praise session or anything like that to be clear to the audience. It's not like when I say grateful the coverage, they're like, thank you so much. Like someone's talking about it. You know, it's more just like, you know, again, they're eager to get the game in your hands, and that sort of stuff is nice because it lets you do your job.
Yeah, so, especially in a timely fashion and not the day before release, where you actually can give a measured, non-rushed opinion and impression of something, a review of something.
Agreed. Shout out to Nioh.
Yeah,
excited to play some of that later this year. Mm-hmm. Cog, this one's all you. Tekken Season 3 gets revealed. Harada was there for the final set of reveals, and he revealed his shirt saying, don't ask me for shit.
Classic.
But then he delivered 3 characters. New stage, a 4th character's remaining a little bit of a mystery. Did you watch all the reactions on like everyone being faked out by like Marduk, and it was actually Roger Jr. because everyone saw Australia? They're like, oh
no.
It's so good. Mm-hmm. We have a write-in here from Ronnie Barrier. He says, hey, Dukes, I need to tap Cog for our biannual Tekken Minute. What did you think of the new DLC characters announcing Kunimitsu, Bob, and Roger? And the devs supposedly going back to basics for their balancing approach. I know Season 2 was wacky and alienated a lot of people, but I'm hoping this can bring things back to the center. Keep at it, fellas. Love the show. Thank you, Ronnie. Cog, all you, because I've not been in since Season 1. I didn't play lick of Tekken last year.
Yeah, no, bro, this is a big one. Shout out to Ronnie. Get to talk some Tekken. I love it. I did see, you know, the whole reveal, the characters and everything. Here's the thing. The state of the Tekken community is in flux right now because, again, I told you Season 2, one of the most controversial and upsetting things they've ever done was like, hey, we're going to rein this in. You know, this aggressive thing that we've been pumping and pushing on you guys, and all these heat systems and we heard you. And we're toning this down. Here's patch blah, blah, blah. Patch blah, blah, blah comes out, and it literally ramps the aggression up to the umpteenth power even more. So people are like, F you, you lied. You lied. Like, you literally did a bait and switch. They were like, we can never trust you again. And now the language, it's called the casino fight game. So basically what happens is whose turn it goes first, and then you get jailed, and you just better hope that you guess right whether block or low, and then you'll get obliterated with these other combos. And people just, even the pros were lashing out like, this is not fun. You're not rewarding defensive play, sidesteps, timely blocks, punishes for people who are intelligent that know what's coming, but still it's so skewed favor in the other side. And granted, I will admit, as a Tekken fan, I am an aggressive style. It's called like Pitbull. I'm a very Pitbull versus the Turtle. The Turtle's the guy just sits back, waits, dashes. He's waiting for openings. So I admit Tekken 8 suits my sensibilities because I like to run down and win.
Warang main, yeah,
and I'm a Warang main.
So you just want to dance on everyone.
Dance, king of the rushdown. My flamingo foot is dancing on you. I'm doing all type of fakes. Like, I love it. So I'm like, it's great. But in fairness, I understand if I'm playing a smart player, I should be punished more for mistakes. And it just skewed way too much the other side. So here's the thing with this. They said back to basics, right?
Yeah.
Forget the DLC characters. Respectfully, Kunimitsu, okay, cool character. Bob is funny because Bob was the inside on Tekken is that people couldn't pronounce Harang's name for the longest. So inside joke, he's like, all you Bob mains, and we call Harang Bob. So that became like a joke internally with Tekken veterans. Really? Yeah, and then Harada made a character named Bob because people couldn't pronounce Harang.
We have a guy who loves food. He's huge. That's crazy. So it's a wild, disrespectful character.
Yes, and then it's like, he knows martial arts. His martial art is to eat, get big, and that's how he goes. So Bob was a welcome addition. Roger, okay, look, Tekken, I get it. You're silly. That's what you want to do. Tekken's always gonna have the bears and the thing. I'm just a little disappointed on the roster so far. Based, I feel like, yes, I'm a Marduk main. I'm like, damn, no Marduk. And I thought they could have pulled some more OG Tekken guys that people want more. But screw all that. Once you say back to basics, that is the most important change. If you do this balancing patch and you land it, you'll get everybody back. So I'm willing to deal with a mediocre roster for obviously they didn't name the fourth one who will be an original character. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to condemn this list yet, but Kunimitsu's dope. But if they nail that balance patch, back to basics, go back to defensive Tekken, you're going to win the community back. So people are hopeful. People are like, our boy FDX, he's like, I might stop playing Street Fighter. He's like, this could single-handedly be the greatest thing ever. So we're hoping, we just hope they don't lie and they actually execute and they really skew the pendulum back the other way. Because I've had my fun for 2 seasons. It's time to get the community back on board with how Tekken is supposed to be the most balanced and complex, an answer to everything kind of game is what Tekken is supposed to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm keen to see how it goes. I guess I'm in the camp that's kind of doubtful, I guess, because I just saw the promises and then how they deliver. And I watch a lot of FDX, so I've seen how he just breaks it down every time. And it just seems like not good, right? So also it's one of those things where when you're out of the game for so long, me going back into an aggro friendly game where I have to remember, I'm just asking no one wants to step up, arms on the back. Give me your best shot, dude. That's what I'm basically asking for here. Especially as a Yoshimitsu main now. I need to remember all of his gimmicks.
All stuff.
The guy's move list is fucking crazy, dude.
It's insane, bro.
I'll be eagerly watching on. And I'm hoping that Tekken 8 gets back on track here, especially because this is kind of like Harada's farewell tour, right? So it's you're going to land any patch, it's got to be this one, right?
Got to be this one. This is so key to Tekken for its future, for sure.
Agreed. Cog, this next one you sent in. A little bit of news here for the Forza Bros community. Forza Horizon 6 is going to support cross-save across both PlayStation, Steam, and Xbox. So whether it's PC, consoles, you get to carry your save anywhere. Cog, cross-play as well.
Bro.
You gonna be racing in Japan with PlayStation fans?
Look, I'm down, bro. Listen, this is huge. I really don't want to understate this. We've always known internally this is something that they want to do with Play Anywhere as far as, PC and Xbox, right? We get that. And we understand that it's coming, to whatever. But I think for me, cross-save is so critical. We've had cross-play. Cross-save to me, I've always told people, that's why I always give Larian and Baldur's Gate their flower. When you throw cross-save, no matter what platform, that's the future of gaming. So to me, one, you got PlayStation to sign off on this because you have to get their save data system in conjunction to mesh with the Xbox and the PC. That's a lot of allowance. So clearly, PlayStation loves what Forza Horizon is doing on the platform, right? They getting their cut. They chilling. This we already discussed is the biggest single IP from Xbox Game Studios, not named Call of Duty and not anything to do with Bethesda, right? From Xbox Game Studios main, it's Playground with this game. This is a huge deal. This is them really going for it. And I don't want to minimize that because this is where the future of gaming should go. Like, especially if the game is on multiple platforms, right? That's what I want. I'm shocked by this. I didn't think we'd get cross play is a given. We know that. Hey, race together. Yeah. All right, cool. Cross save. Wow. I could go anywhere with my data. And this is big for PlayStation fans if they they want to expand, or let's say they have a PC or whatever. Like, you're giving that level of option. I think this is a big deal. I would hope if Microsoft is going to continue in this direction with their, third-party publisher future, this becomes more commonplace. I love this stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really good for the Forza Bros. It's the perfect game for it. So
perfect.
I'm keen to see how this balloons the player count as the kind of second win launch happens. Because no doubt, I call this like do you think this kind of, I guess it kind of invalidates the need for a double dip, right? Like I was thinking, sort of like we had that one right. The ultimate Forza Bro, the final boss of Forza Bro. Like I played it for X hundred hours on Xbox, and now I'm going to do it on PlayStation again. With cross save and cross play, kind of like pick your platform and hang there. There's no need to double dip.
If you want, they will. Don't fool them yourself. Like, they're going to catch the FOMO. Once you're doing the 5 days early, dudes ain't going to wait. Some dudes ain't going to wait.
Yeah.
So I know that part. But to your point, yes, if they had not done cross save, they could probably still even sell even more on an individual basis once the PlayStation stuff comes out. But I get your point.
This next one's interesting, Cog. Highguard's moving up in this world. Moving up from mostly negative to mixed on Steam. And that is because it received a 5v5 game mode. You and I just talked last week. We said, hey, not the biggest sin the industry's committed, not the greatest game it's ever made. It just sits firmly in the middle in this sort of whatever place where I'm probably going to forget about it. But after hearing the feedback, 3v3 is not enough. They come out with a, quote, limited game mode that is now permanent. And it's a 5v5 mode. They said they saw a split down the middle, as many people were queuing up for 3v3 as 5v5. And so that's on the game. And what we're seeing here is a small team who's self-published, is able to kind of make their own calls for their live product and get a mode out there really fast like this without any sort of need for green lights, just like quick communication chain, execute, deliver. And I think this is actually a really good sign. I think this is a good sign for the game itself. Not even like ignoring the reviews and whatnot for a moment here. I think just seeing like, oh, okay, they got a new mode in there just like that based on community feedback. I think it was a really good sign for the game. I'm curious what else they can add in. I'm not totally like over the line where I go, oh, this saves everything. It's not like, again, but it's not to me like a game that's in need of saving. But for those who are on that level, like I'm already not in love with the universe. I'm not in love with these characters. Like, what is this game giving me that I can't get elsewhere is kind of the question that I don't know if it can fully answer yet. But I like to see that immediately they jumped on this. I like to see that people who are hanging around enjoying it are getting more enjoyment out of it. I think that's cool to see here. So Cog, your thoughts on Highguard moving up in this world a little bit?
Yeah, I'll talk about this a little bit more too when I get to what I was playing, because I felt it was only I know. I felt it was only right and only fair that I actually gave it a shot once this was announced. And I'll be honest, like, this was something I did not see coming. And me and you had our last discussion with it when it first came out. My impressions of it was just like, this game is going to live and die based on this live team and how quickly they're going to be able to respond or not respond to feedback. And I was, be honest, I was like, probably, I was leaning like, yeah, they probably won't be able to do things in time. Bro, when I saw that announcement, I was like, yo, wow, that's a good look. Yeah, that's a good look. Yeah, and again, taking the feedback. So yeah, I'll talk about it more, but I just want to give them credit because I know some dev teams will be like, well, this is our vision. This is what we're doing. You know, the maps weren't designed, you know what I'm saying, for that kind, you know, and I can see. So I'll get into this later a little bit more about my actual, you know, game moment to moment experience with me, and I really dove with it. And but I just want to give them kudos to being able to respond in that fashion and have it spun up or ready to go. Like usually you'd be like, okay, we're going to announce it. We heard you, we will announce it. Month, 2 months later, it's on the roadmap for March. You know what I'm saying? And then you get it, right? Yeah. Bro, like the game been out like a day or 2 days. Like, impressive. So I got to give him some props for that.
I agree completely. This next story is really interesting. We could park it on this story for probably an hour because it is a massive, you're laughing because you think I'm going to say something spicy, but I mean it because it's a massive interview that Press PR did. And I say massive because I made a whole video on this and I sat there and like, it's a 30+ minute video just talking about all these different quotes from the former lead designer on Skyrim, who was there at Bethesda Game Studios all the way up until halfway through Starfield's development timeline. A lot of these former Bethesda developers, Cog, these days, just gabbing a lot.
Yapping.
Gabbing a lot, dude. And I mean, it's really interesting to see because they're getting asked tough questions like, now we're getting to the point where like this interview, a lot of it was actually built off of what Kurt Coleman was talking about. Like, yeah, Todd broke a promise to me, right? We talked about that last week. And this guy was asked about it, like, did you hear about that? Gave a complete non-answer. Like, yeah, if Todd had greenlit that and Kurt was at the top of that, he's like, I would have loved to work on that. That was all he gave. Like, it wasn't even anywhere indicating like, you know, yeah, he told him that. He's like, you can get good answers out of me, but I am not getting into that. So that's where we're at right now with these ex-Bethesda devs. They're talking. There were a couple quotes that grabbed some headlines. I can pull them out for us, but really the main one that was interesting to me, because I saw Larian get involved in this, and I thought it was a fun one, was talking about Morrowind and it being remastered in the same way that Oblivion would be. Bruce Smith said this, quote, "The problem with doing Morrowind is I bet they don't even have the original code. The game is so old, I don't know if the original source code exists anymore. If it does, can you even compile it? When you're looking at Oblivion, they still had the code. They could still compile it. Putting the code into a new version of the engine was a possibility. The other thing I would say is go back and play Morrowind and tell me this is a game you want to play again. We have all these fond memories of things that were pivotal moments in our gaming fantasy histories that we absolutely move, but you go back and play a 20-year-old game and you will cringe. People even had cringe moments with Oblivion Remake but they forgot it because they were reliving something. They're enjoying the nostalgia. I worked on Oblivion. I'm even responsible for some of those cringe moments. The further back you go, the more that's going to be an issue. The reality of playing Morrowind would not stand the test of time, in my opinion." He says, if now you were able to remake Morrowind completely with the Skyrim engine to try and rebuild it from the ground up, that's a whole other story, but that's an entire project. That's a whole 4-year development cycle. Why not go and make something new? Let's revisit the lands of Morrowind and do a new story. You can include the giant crab palace and all that stuff, but make it new and avoid all the things that would not have survived the test of time. On that point, Smith suggested Morrowind could be an area Bethesda returns to in another game as well. So they talk about Hammerfell, High Rock, Somerset Isle. But I wanted to start here, Kai, because he even says things like, if a team that wasn't Bethesda made Starfield, released Starfield, it would be talked about like the Second Coming, but because it's Bethesda, it got the reception it did, right? So there was a little bit of that. There was a little bit of, what is your thoughts on Todd Howard as a boss? And Bruce was like, well, I think he's one of the best bosses I've worked for. He also seagulls a lot, where he swoops in and changes things, and he does that over and over, and a lot of company decisions are bottlenecked through him, and you can feel that now. It's still a thing. And so there was a lot here, a lot of threads we could pull out. I can bring those up, but Cog, I want to dish it to you onto the subject of Morrowind. What do you think of this? Because again, Larian got involved and they're like, do the combat differently and this will sell like hotcakes. Like someone's got to want to do this, right? So they were fighting for it. Your thoughts, sir?
This is hilarious to me. Okay. I'm going to put a disclaimer on my comments. I am not qualified. So Morrowind bros, stand down. I am not qualified to talk in very detailed discussions on what a Morrowind resurgence or remake or remaster should be, because that wasn't the game that got me into Elder Scrolls. Oblivion was the game. So you could call me the commercial Elder Scrolls guy. I saw Morrowind. You know what I'm saying? Like my boy showed me, I remember that because yesterday, he was a scientist when I used to work at Albert Einstein College of Medicine. He found out I was a gamer. He was like, oh, you got Xbox? I got Xbox too. Cool. What are you playing? I'm playing this. I'm playing Morrowind. What's that? All right, cool. And I looked at it and my head hurt. I was like, you could do all of this in this game? This game sounds wild, crazy. But I was intimidated. He was like, yeah, you could do this. You could. Bro, it was amazing. But it was just too intimidating for my young mind at that time.
Sure.
So fast forward. I have been thinking like, man, it would be dope if they brought it back. Now, where I agree with him is that there's a part of me that's like, give it the remake Oblivion treatment, modernize the engine, put it in that stage where we are now, almost like the Fallout series. If we were talking about Fallout 1 and 2, right? There are some people who are like, the purists are going to say, leave it in its form and that's it. Me, I don't not interested in that. I got to be honest. I'm interested in where Fallout 3 is and everything is for. And the same thing with Oblivion on. That's where I'm at with it. That's to me where the series began for me. But I do feel he is a bit disrespectful to the Morrowind pros in this sense. Like, he's like, who gonna want that? He was going in. He was like, you're going to cringe. This is trash. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go that far. There are people who are going to want Morrowind. There are people who are going to want Fallout 1 and 2 in exile version purity because that's what they fell in love with. And who am I to tell them they shouldn't get that? I can only speak selfishly as me. As far as the other comments he said about, what is it about? I missed was it about Todd and stuff like that? Did he kind of go in, or he kind of stayed safe with it?
Yeah, I can read you the full response.
Yeah, read it. I want to know about the Todd stuff.
Yeah, the Todd stuff was interesting because it was, again, like a whole conversation about the public perception versus what he knows. He said, you'll have to tell me what you think of the public perception of Viz. I've known the man for a long time. For me to see the forest for the trees is a little difficult. I can tell you candidly that when working at Bethesda up through the Skyrim days, Todd is probably one of the best bosses I've ever had. I can also tell you he's keenly aware of the fact that he's a bottleneck, and he works his ass off to not do that. Unfortunately, he does not succeed very well. But this is not something where he is being an ogre about it. It's part of the culture of the studio, and that is extremely difficult to get away from because it's baked into how things are done. Even though he tries desperately not to, he does what's called seagulling, where he swoops in and changes things. It still happens. I will give you the counterpoint too. When you build a game as big as a Bethesda game, Todd was very good about saying, I care about this and this and this and this and this. And he spends a lot of time and attention on those things. We were left to go our own way on it. Not that he wouldn't come in and have to approve the work, but he would give a lot of leeway. He says, I revamped the entire magic system for Skyrim because I felt it was very old and cliched and it needed to be redone. We had talks about it. He approved the general idea, and he was also very involved in that. Then he let me have my head. Not that we didn't have discussions about this particular or thing or that, but I had the freedom to create that, a lot of freedom. It was also the same with a lot of the character systems. He was very involved in the perks because he had a vision for what he wanted for that. On the underlying stuff, I had a tremendous amount of freedom to do what I wanted to do. I would say that the reputation you just said is both earned and unearned because it's a big studio. It's a big project. We do big projects. We did big projects. You could have both of these things be true at the same time. So kind of in defense of Todd, but also like saying like, yeah, like he's not perfect. I mean, we already knew that, but like, it's just saying like he has a style that I think as the studio grew, it became a problem because you can't seagull. You can seagull with a small team. Right. But you can't seagull when you have like a whole chain of command of middle management and things are getting blocked up and it's taking too long to make these calls. So it can block things up. So I thought it was a really interesting answer on that front. What did you think? No, that's a fantastic answer. I love the accountability. I think that, the vibe I'm getting now as we get multiple reports from ex-Bethesda members and stuff like that is kind of like that bottleneck talk, right? Which is like he is so responsible for so many key decisions and there is creative control and freedom for other things to happen. But when he does seagull in, right, he makes changes and swoops in and stuff like that. That's necessary, but you're not getting that consistent presence that you may need from him all the time throughout the process as a result of them going, to me, they're like a mom and pop shop that works amazing in that kind of smaller energy. And then maybe just weren't prepared for the growth that they had. And now, his bandwidth is just not able to accommodate everybody. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing I worry for him being that he's so integral that there isn't like, I don't call it like an understudy, but clearly you should have that delegation with someone who knows you know where I'm going, right? That who knows your whole vision, right? So that you don't have to be day and date with every single person. Your bandwidth has to be because that person truly understands everything that you need to get done, right? And of course, there's always going to be a misstep here and there. That's just the nature of business and having a company and stuff like that. I struggle with it sometimes. But I have like two people that I'm like, yo, this is my vision. This is what I need to happen. I'm not going to oversee every single aspect of this thing because you understand what I want, right? You understand what I need kind of thing. And I don't know if it's a situation where he keeps these things too close to vest or there's no such person to delegate. And I think that's where the disconnect seems to happen. I'm starting to see a pattern of too many people saying he is integral
and we can't get enough of him because he's just not there, kind of thing. Man, not that he's negligent or anything like that, but it's just that
when you're balancing the show, future of Fallout, future of Elder Scrolls, Indiana Jones, like it's just natural something's going to give. It's not giving him an out by saying that. Like it's just natural human bandwidth. Like this guy's also a father. Like I don't know. I'm not trying to expand it into that territory, but like there's also those duties too. You know, unless he's negligent there, who knows?
And then we shall see. But then there's also a thing, and I'm going to call myself out for this. You know what I'm guilty of. And I wonder if he experiences this on any level, because again, what he does is 1,000 times more than anything I'm capable of doing from a company standpoint or a delegation standpoint. But there are times, and I'm guilty of it, Maddie, where it's like, I don't know if you experienced this. When you love something wholeheartedly, and this is your company, it's your baby, it's your project, whatever it is, right? You kind of want to be involved with every little aspect of it because you want your input and stuff like that. And sometimes it takes mental strength to trust the process of the delegation, that what you have assigned to get done gets done. And you go, okay, I can be hands off here because I was clear with what the vision is and I don't have to check. Now, mind you, if there's a fault or it slips through, then you're right to come in like, yo, bro, what the hell? This is not, kind of thing. But that's my only concern. If maybe he loves it too much, and he's not willing to get, and I've always alluded to this to some level, even when it came to when we used to have the talks about Obsidian or other people, being able to hand off or make a vault studio. If you're a, type of person,
protective,
if your person is very protective, and I get it, it's yours, it's your baby, you want to be part of it, but maybe that could be, part of the bottleneck too. So there's just some theories. I don't know the inner workings of them all the way, but we started to get more information.
Yeah, there's definitely an overlap on that sort of approach that he has being good for when the team is smaller, because he is a brilliant mind and like he sees the game a particular way and he has a strong vision and he lets his team have that creative freedom. But as the company grew and the layers of middle management start to get enforced and you have multiple studios you're balancing, not just, we're Bethesda, Maryland, but also like Austin, Texas, and everyone's getting some mixed messages here. That leads to bloated development timelines as well. And I think I always say the best thing that this company can do is just go back to basics. Like I think really need it. And I think it would improve their games dramatically. I don't know if they would ever willingly do that. I think they just have too many resources tied up in things like Fallout 76 right now, which does seem to make them some pretty good money. But the problem is also that I agree, which is Todd not having, from our point of view, like a protege. He's someone who follows him up, because what the studio's not prepared for, because they still drive every decision. Like even in my case as a content creator, I can say like, they've told me like, if you catch Todd, tell him, because he has that type of sway. So everyone wants this dude's ear because he can move fucking mountains. And they're like, okay, I need to get Todd. So Todd is a very needed dude in his work environment. And if that's the case, then the bandwidth starts to get shortened, can't be everywhere at any given time. And I think the company's not prepared for a day where he gets older and he retires. And when that happens, right, like when he's out of there, who's next in line? Who is trusted on that deep of a level to run every company decision through, right? Like, and we can see also the ramifications of just like by going wide, how the quality is slipping. There are some people out there who I understand have not always liked RPGs from Bethesda. I think that's fair. But I think even the biggest haters of Bethesda can admit that like everything between Morrowind and Fallout 4 was everything from good to excellent. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason why they should be putting up the games that they're putting up right now outside of losing talent, which that's why a lot of these developers are ex-devs. We're not hearing a lot of current devs, but ex-devs, they're losing talent and they're spread thin. They're not as maximized on resources. And a lot of their story does remind me a bit of Obsidian, who we're going to talk about. A lot of people thought Obsidian's massive, but we get a head count in the Schreier report. And as I've said multiple times, Obsidian has a lot of people there, but they're split up like probably 70 people per project, maybe 100 people max. Like that's about the same team size that made Oblivion and Skyrim. Like these are big games, but they're not like endless games. So it's a topic that I look at and I'm very passionate about, because I still believe in Todd. Like I'm still someone who has not given up on him as a visionary. But I do look at the problem here, and I don't know if it's really a Todd problem. It's more like the talent that surrounds Todd in a lot of ways. Like maybe I shouldn't say it's not a Todd problem because it technically is, but you get what I'm saying, where it's
I get what you're saying. Right.
We need people who are as good or could be better, right? What would give people more hope in Bethesda Game Studios than knowing that once this dude's out, that there's someone else there, because that's what we as an industry fail to do. Like, who's the next Kojima? Next Todd? And so on, right? In a sense, they're irreplaceable. I think, to bring up a great example, Vince Zampella is a perfect representation of that. Like, just a brilliant mind that anything he put his head to turned to gold, right? So, you don't get that all the time. You don't get a guy who can turn Battlefield into a COD competitor and beat COD. You just don't get that all the time, right? So they're rare minds, but Bethesda, with the IP they own, can still be an incredible team. But I think they need to be prepared for the current environment they've been in for since like 2015. It just feels like they're really behind in a lot of ways. So I have less thoughts on the Morrowind stuff. I think you could just, it doesn't have to go through Bethesda. I've said this so many times. Like we want these things, but it doesn't have to come from them. That's why Virtuos made a lot of sense. It's like, perfect. Bethesda, you go do your thing. They give us the thing we want while we wait for your next big thing.
Right.
Perfect. Anyway, let's stick with Bethesda a little bit here, technically, because we're really talking about Amazon. I just want to bring this to people's attention. I had to rant a little bit about this.
Let's go here. That's what I was waiting for.
Self-indulgence from your boy here. So this Amazon Fallout countdown was going on. Everyone was looking at the map, taking screenshots. What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? Now, for those who have not been paying attention, Amazon had a Fallout countdown on an interactive map, and the interactive map would take you to behind-the-scenes footage all over the Fallout TV show. So you'd click on the Caswin Inn, and it would take you to a 3D model Caswin Inn, and you could walk around in that, and you could click on parts of the set, and you would see secret footage that they didn't release anywhere else. It was pretty cool. There was one icon on the map that you could click on, but it had a timer next to it. And until the season finale dropped, you could not visit this. When the timer ends, it turns out it's Mr. House's penthouse. And that shocked Pikachu face or the pretends to be surprised meme? I feel like that was me. I hate to be that guy, but I have to be that guy in this case because I'm usually not that guy, right? Like I have spent years begging for what everyone thought this was going to be, which was a Fallout 3 remaster. I think that they owe us this, bro. They have been due yesterday, right? Like I have been waiting. We have been waiting so long for New Vegas and Fallout 3. The second Microsoft bought Bethesda, it was like greenlight them. They obviously, as we know, based on the release calendar, have waited a very long time to get those ducks in a row here. That is their mistake here. But I have watched the internet burn themselves down over this shit. And all I can say is you did it to yourselves. I'll be the first to blame Bethesda and Xbox for not greenlighting them sooner. I'm with everyone on that. But people out there who are like, are you kidding me? And I see a lot of content creators and press going, are you serious? Y'all got to pay attention because it's not even just visible evidence. The website itself was connected to the show. Amazon doesn't announce Bethesda video games. That was made very clear during Fallout Day. There were reports, everyone from Nate the Hate to Jez Corden. We had Forbes, The Verge. Everyone was like, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Everyone was like shutting it down. And I go on Twitter and I watch, I'm sorry, these content creators who are just like, man, can you imagine? And I see the impressions they're getting. And I the thing that bothered me so much, I talked about this in my season 2 review, Cog, is I'm watching these people impression farm on a week-to-week show because they are clearly benefiting from it because I've never heard of them before this moment. I'm like, oh. And then when it gets shut down, they're like, yeah, obviously there was never a remaster. I'm like, obviously, bro? Obviously? What do you mean, obviously, guys? Like, I'm watching 4 different Twitter accounts connected to content creators being like, yeah, obviously it was never a remaster. I'm like, you've posted shit about it for 2 months straight. You got people's hopes up. I made like 3 different videos on this and dedicated a whole stream topic to this. It's being like, guys, I'm sorry. It's not happening. It's going to happen. But if you think it's going to get shadow dropped, your logic defied it, Cog. They were defying logic. Virtuos, who just remastered Oblivion, fucking last April.
What did they say?
Well, I was just saying, like, what are they
just a timeline? Yeah.
Be running this thing now? They're like, yeah, here you go, guys. Like, where did everyone get off thinking this is going to happen is beyond me. It's going to happen. These are real projects. They're on the way. It's probably going to be in 2027. It might get announced this year. But for the love of God, dude, when I saw people were like, "Oh, screw them," like they didn't shadow drop them. I'm like, who hurt you? Who convinced you of this? Because there's no way in this world that there was any logic behind this. Okay, and I'm not trying to be that guy again. I'm going to say it for a third time. I hate being the logically speaking. The facts say, the evidence say. You know, I'm not trying to be that guy because that guy is annoying.
Yes,
I'm like, dude. It was right there, and people are still upset. So the countdown ended. Go check out Mr. House's podcast because it's connected to the show. And when the Fallout 3 remasters actually start to gain rumors, just like Oblivion, we will know. But if Bethesda doesn't know, now they know people really want remasters, and maybe that's the win in it all. Because they're probably sitting there going, "Man, we should have greenlit these. That would be kind of sick if we." Imagine if we like right away.
I know.
5 years development cycle, right in time. For this TV show, that'd be cool. You learn, you live and you learn. So mistakes are made. Cog, any thoughts on this countdown timer? I really put this in for me, but I want to.
No, I love it. I love it. I'm here for it. Yeah, look, it's one of those things where it's just, again, people have to be careful of imposing their wants on companies versus the reality of what actually could happen. And look, it would have been amazing. You know, I remember when the rumors first started coming out, like, yo, they got this countdown, bro. If they put this together and the wheels start turning, and then it's where the engagement forward starts. Like, yo, you make a video on it, you know, and stuff like that. And I get it. People want this really bad, but it's just like we've had enough evidence to say, okay, this may be just very TV specific, right? And I would have loved to be wrong. That's why I didn't get myself worked up. The same thing. I remember people saying this at the developer direct. Yo, shadow drop. It's going to happen, man. I'm telling you. And I'm like, all right, I've yet to see any evidence to believe that. So that's just where I'm at with it. But yeah, to see people get all bent out of shape and then now in full attack mode when, you know, whatever they tried to impose didn't happen is kind of funny to me, but I get it. Hopefully we get an announcement at the showcase, you know, hopefully, you know, some next milestone. But to your point, yeah, this would have been I think what it is people are upset because this would have been like the perfect moment.
It would be. Yeah. I don't blame people who are just trusting content creators for believing and being upset it's not there. Like I don't, as much as you did it to yourselves, I also don't blame you because, again, there's a trust relationship between a content creator and their viewer. I definitely think there was a lot of, I mean, this whole episodic stretch of Fallout. Like I just call it big business, right? Like I saw a lot of creators being big business. I saw creators that I know are smarter than what they were presenting online, being like, gee, I wonder what it is. 10K thumbs up. I'm like, oh, you suddenly lost your head. Like you don't. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a shit talker. I just saw that shit. I was like, this whole episodic release schedule to me was fucking gross. Like I just watched people spoil shit openly. Yikes. I watched tourists act like they knew what they were talking about. And I watched people who were established in the community lead people on. And I was like, this whole episodic thing, as at least a fan, I was like, this was not fun. Like I bowed out. I watched my show, kept to myself, moved on. But like, bro, I wasn't a fan of how a lot of people handled it. It's not really my call. They can do their thing, but just that's why I operated the way I did.
Yeah, you choose not to engage with that kind of stuff. Yeah. I just watched for this. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Cog, let's talk about Epic Game Store. We know they stormed onto the scene. Big Fortnite cash in hand. They said, we're going to take out Steam. IGN interviewed Steve Allison, VP and GM of the Epic Game Store, about the store's 2025 and what's coming in 2026. I wanted to read their little summary of their full Q&A that people can read on IGN's website. They say the headline here is $400 million was spent by players on third-party PC games on the Epic Game Store, which is up 57% from last year. That figure was actually down 18% last year, which means that 2025 saw a profound and positive change for the game store. In total, $1.16 billion was spent by PC players on the Epic Game Store, which was up 6%. The Epic Game Store hit 78 million monthly average users in December of 2025, which was an all-time record. But the 67 million average of monthly active users is down 1%, and the 31 million average of daily active users is down 2%. Allison said that Epic has noticed something happening on Steam when it gave a game away for free. As you'd expect, concurrent users numbers will rise on the Epic Game Store when it's part of a free giveaway. That's usually up 77% for the 100 games that they've given away now. But the giveaways also cause a concurrent player count spike for a game on Steam of around 40%. Allison puts this down to Steam players who perhaps already had the game in their library and see coverage of it online, but because it's gone for free on the Epic Game Store and their friends are talking about it, they reinstall and dip back in, or sometimes they just buy it on Steam outright. But Epic faces an uphill battle here, mostly because of the Epic Game Store itself just isn't as good to use as Steam for a whole bunch of other reasons. To combat this, Epic is rebuilding the store on PC so the launcher is faster and does not use as many memory resources. Quote, "It should feel fast and snappy and just be what you expect, frankly. The new Epic Game Store should ship by June." Epic's vision for the Epic Game Store and its point of difference with Steam is that it's a multi-platform store. This means that one store is connected across PC, Mac, iOS, and Android, and even other games. A big part of this is voice and text for party chats or parties independent of games, a bit like a console experience, but on PC and mobile. As most PC gamers know, the community is pretty much non-existent on the Epic Game Store, and Allison acknowledged that. Forums are coming to the store, which sounds basic, but has been in the works for some time. And they said expect Epic to make some noise about forums in the next few weeks. And there's Fortnite. They said the Battle Royale behemoth, which is the everything game and the key to the Epic Game Store push. It plans to use Fortnite to convince PC gamers to get their games from the Epic Game Store rather than Steam. To do that, it will tap into the marketing power of Fortnite, offering a Fortnite gift, which is a Fortnite cosmetic alongside a matching character avatar for their profile, with a purchase of a game. Upcoming partners include Capcom, MiHoYo, so that's the Genshin Impact devs and whatnot, Pearl Abyss for Crimson Desert, S-Game, Mint Rocket, and Kakao Games as the first to participate, and Allison expects this to have a significant impact on sales. So, Cog, they got some plans over there at Epic Games Store. Do you read any of this and think to yourself, Steam should be concerned?
No. But, I mean, Fortnite is their golden goose. As much as I'm not the Fortnite guy, you know, the longevity and how much of it's an influence in gaming and pop culture should be studied because this thing has not really slowed down. And I understand what they're doing. They're like, hey, let's leverage this to utilize these in-character things and these items to try to promote interactivity with the store. The thing that I'm a little bit disappointed reading when you were reading that was kind of like, still basic features, no forum, you know, the chat separation. By now, I thought all of this would have been, you know, in play for a storefront. Look, I'm the first one to get at Steam guys, the Steam bros, like, bro, please, it's just another launcher, like, calm down. Mm-hmm. But I have to admit, you know, after utilizing, because Xbox clearly wants me to be on PC a lot, you know, after utilizing PC and Steam games more, bro, it's a clean store. It's really a one-stop shop on how, and granted, it's years and years of experience and user feedback, but it's like, to me, it's like if you have your competitor and they have all these baseline things that people, you know, say, hey, this is what makes it great. To me, at minimum, when you enter into your storefront, you should have a lot of this. I remember when they didn't have like cloud saves and just little things. I'm like, damn, Epic, what's going on? Because I wanted to support them. They like, bro, they were giving out free games. I'm like, why is everybody like, nah, I'm gonna buy it on Steam. I'm good. And I'm like, damn, like this is some storefront loyalty. Like, yeah. So, you know, I do. Last thing I'll say, I do find it interesting that he says like when they put something on free on Epic, that they see the Steam concurrent go up, and then, you know, the competition. Look, I'm about competition. I'm about other storefronts, but to me, I don't see anything right now besides the Fortnite thing. Now we'll have impact. That's going to get them into a more competitive space with an extremely dominant storefront.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything. Maybe they have something on the pipe that they haven't mentioned yet, but I need to see something else that's more compelling and say, yeah, okay, bro, they coming. Hey, this is really impactful. And I think that's the thing with Steam other than the golden goose. That is Fortnite.
100%. I agree. Not much to be said otherwise. This next story is interesting, Cog. Let's talk about our favorite AI. So we had Game Developers Conference recently. There was a 2026 State of the Games Industry survey that questioned 2,300 game industry professionals here. We got a couple of interesting stats here. One of the standout ones was that 52% of game developers have said generative AI is having a negative impact on the industry. which is including 35% who have claimed to have not used AI themselves here. And in all this is actually a increase by 30% from last year, where only about 20-ish% was sitting there going, yeah, I'm concerned about Gen AI in the industry here. So when you see that, Cog, versus what something like Daniel Vavra had to say, which you sent my way here.
Mm-hmm.
He said, everybody hates AI. Well, not actually everybody, but I told you it's the unavoidable future. Hate me as you wish. It's the truth. This is a fan-made trailer made in 2 days by one person. Movies and the gaming industry will never be the same. You can see it as a game over or as an opportunity for everyone to make great stuff without the big money from corporations. But it doesn't matter what you think. It's here, and it's not going anywhere. He does push back against AI being a fruitless effort, but he is not a fan of things such as Gen AI.
Right.
He says, my art is just a materialization of my thoughts, the result of my brain guiding my hands. It's similar as if you were saying that driving cars is unnatural, cheating to reach something faster, and that only people who really arrive at the destination are those who walk. So, interesting way of thinking about it, Cog, but we're seeing these stats pop up here. Pretty close to 50-50 at this point now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we've kind of entered past the testing phase here, where like last year, 20%. But now this year, it's over half of the developers that were surveyed are like, yeah, not really for it here.
Mm-hmm.
So with that combined with Vavra's recent comments, what do you think about this collectively?
I'm seeing cracks. I'm seeing cracks in the AI bubble. I don't know how impactful it will be long term, but I am starting to see that strong perception pushback. Obviously, we know about the consumer standpoint. People have really been aggressive, as far as like, hey, we don't want this in our games. But I'm always cognizant of developers saying, hey, this generative AI ain't it, right? And from a standpoint of, user creation and replacing artists, music, actors, that kind of stuff, like that to me is where I have my concerns specifically, what I'm saying? Because that's the artistic nature of it. I am a geek. I am a techie. I do like the aspects of tooling improving and getting processes more efficient. That part I'll always defend. So I actually understand where Vavra's coming from. But yeah, we're starting to see pushback from the industry. When you see GDC and you see these things, which is one of the things I can't wait to kind of talk, because I'm actually going to try to attend my first one. And I want to get this direct feedback. What is it that you guys are seeing now that you're a little bit more vocal, where you're like, you know what I'm saying? We don't need to include this in our games and stuff like that. And I feel like it's always, to me, the best information is from the source, right? The people who are the creators. So what do you make of this when you see the GDC, the surveys and things of that nature?
So there was a great article on SkillUp's website, this week in videogames.com. And like I mentioned, they interviewed a bunch of concept artists who had used Gen AI before for their jobs, 12 of them to be exact. And all of them collectively said that Gen AI does not improve their job. And it was everything from intangibles, like part of the discovery process is making concept art. Like as in, instead of being printed out an AI image and saying something like this, it's doing your research, learning how machines work and figuring how things like come together, like growing your intelligence on your subject matter and then making something from those learnings. Like that discovery is part of it. So those things I think some people hear and go to it and kind of shrug their shoulders at. But as you get deeper into that article on like concept art and how Gen AI can kind of, I think, disable it, you start to see that like there are senior positions who, in order to make sure that the images have proper reference and are sourced correctly so that people can say like, what's that wheel or that gear there connected to that? Like what contraption is that from? Okay, I got to parse through, find the references for it. So what you're doing is actually creating more work for someone so that there's original, fairly sourced work that someone can then build off of and ensure that it's not just some spit out AI image combining everyone else's art into one. So it again requires that more traditional research anyway. So we're just adding another step to at least that process. And I think that's what people are learning is the reason that there was such a big increase in this survey, at least, which admittedly smaller sample size, but it still says something, right? Which is that same amount of people who were surveyed are now over half of them saying it's not really doing much. It's having a negative impact, in fact. And I think it's, again, going down to the simple things like we've yet to really see that, impact. or if it's done by someone, it's usually impressive because of like Vavar's example. Like I disagree with him wholeheartedly because the only time I go, whoa, cool, is if it is like someone like one person or two people. But what it's done is even cast doubt on those smaller projects. I just saw a Ninja Turtle project that was about Raphael, and it was like a gritty early 1990s TMNT fight scene shot, and it was awesome. It was so good. I thought this was like AI for a moment, but then they had to put a disclaimer like there was no AI used in the production of anything here. So it just cast out. So I think that's also the other thing is like, I'm sure there are some devs who are like, no, it's not improving things because we're making art. And even by using these tools, we're spending our lives making things that people don't even think are real or like valuable to them. So I think you're just stripping the inherent value of the artist out of it. So, I mean, people know how I stand on this thing. It's like, I'm not like so anti that I always use the light bulb as the example where I'm not like, hey, the oil lamp's doing me fine, bro. Thanks. You know,
you call some buggy dude.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I'm not that anti, but I am to the extent of like, again, I think Bruce Straley put it perfectly. Like right now, hell no. I don't see any good reason to. Is there a time where I look foolish and maybe it is at that point? Sure, we'll look at it then. But right now, I don't see any reason to jump in. And I think a lot of the industry seems to start to feel that way here. So it'll continue to be divisive, but I think just like you and I have talked about, like there'll be that game that shows up and like, boom, we got a lot of AI in this thing and y'all loved it. I feel like there'll also be a time there's a game that we love and adore and it was made in these seemingly impossible circumstances in a short period of time and we all loved it. And it's like, why are we accepting AI shit if this is still possible? So we'll see where it goes. It's an interesting time to be making games, man.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great time to get involved.
Oh, yeah. You right on schedule for all the slap.
Let me answer all the questions. Are you using AI? No.
Next question, please.
Okay, Cog. Let's talk a little bit about Ubisoft because they just continue to find themselves in the headlines here. First up, they say fire. Well, I shouldn't say fire. They say, please volunteer to get fired or you will get fired. They proposed up to 200 voluntary redundancies. Again, a very fancy way of saying basically, hey, if you come here and you're like, we can strike a deal, I'll walk out, but here's what you're going to give me, or your ass is gone anyway. So that's basically where we're at now. Corporate Cog, hit me with it. 200 redundancies at the Paris HQ, which I think is an almost 18% decrease of the work staff that is at that particular headquarters there. This is leading to strikes, by the way. Strikes that are pushing Yves Guillemot out of his own studio. Like they're not welcoming him into like one of their headquarters that he was planning to visit. So it's getting nasty out there, dude. Like they're straight up like people talking shit about Yves in the company Slack. Like no respect for higher management right now. They are fed up. And I mean, if there's a company that needs a change of scenery, man, it's Ubisoft. They need some new leadership there. But Cog, your thoughts on what's going on with Ubisoft from this angle?
Yeah, this has been an ongoing saga with them. When I read collective voluntary mutual termination agreement, oh boy, I know about that.
Heard of this one, Corporate Cog?
Yeah, I've heard that language before. I mean, you subject yourself to coming in and having these discussions and what the terms of that you would adhere to so that you could have this mutually beneficial separation. So, yeah, here's the thing. When they have, like we said before, I said with ILP, that when you have these different creative houses and you've now done these subdivisions and almost rankings of where things are going to be and what's prioritized, and then obviously we do have the 10-cent factor that we can't ignore. This is a lot of chaos. And then I always felt it was funny where it's like, on Monday, show up to your creative house where you're going to be reporting to, kind of thing. And then there just seems to be so uncertainty and so much disorganization and just unhappiness with what's going on there. This is as bad as I've ever seen it from Ubisoft. And I don't know how they get out of it, bro. Like I just don't. I'm not seeing that light at the end of the tunnel yet, and I don't want to be doom and gloom with them, but every day it just seems to get worse. Where now people, they're like, yo, if you don't do this, you're at our mercy anyway. So we're gonna do something. So it's either come in and submit and turn yourself, or deal with the consequences. And now we're seeing the unionization part, the strikes part. This is going to get way more messy. And I don't know how. I'm very curious. I would love to talk to Hogue on this because I'm very curious because I'm obviously it's France and there's a lot of different countries involved. And I'm very curious from a litigation standpoint, where this goes, because it gets messier by the day, bro. I can't keep up with how much negativity surrounds Ubisoft on a daily basis right now. I just can't keep up with it.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, it's crazy to me that when I was writing the script, I found 3 different stories on them that we can include here. They were just a growing wildfire is how I define them. And they just keep going and keep taking over more and more. And just, it's a shame because they have these incredible IP.
Hell yeah.
And they just can't get out of their own way. Or as I'll talk about in a little bit here, they keep some of them afloat when you really got to ask yourself, should we really keep hanging on to this versus like this other thing our fans are asking for? Like, it's just a complete mastery of delivering to your players what they don't want. Like, did you see that one Ubisoft leak? It was from that ex-Jonathan guy who's leaked Ubisoft stuff in the past. And he was talking about this Fall Guys Assassin's Creed clone where he said like the whole team was calling it shit. And they were like, it's got like cartoonish Fortnite like graphics. And I'm like, that's going to be the next one. Like, Ubisoft's going to show off like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. We'll have that moment like we do with Ubisoft where we go, okay, that showed pretty well. And then this will be the next announcement. And we'll go, never mind. There's always like, it's a seesaw with them, bro. It's just always this balance, right? And like right now we have the seesaw like this. It's just completely upended. But I don't know if there's any way, like you said, to really create that balance, man. The stock values are incredibly low. This is 10 cents company all day.
Yeah, it just feels inevitable, and I just get the sense again from the outside looking in. The Guillermo family is desperately trying to hold on as much as they can, and it just seems like a sinking ship. So I just don't know where they go from here. I really don't.
I agree.
And I love Ubisoft. Historically, they've been some of the best experiences I've had in gaming. Just to see how far they've fallen, it's like, damn, man, I don't know how they're getting out of this.
New leadership would go a long way, I think, for at least the people working there. And I think that's step one. You got to take care of your team.
Yeah.
The Division Definitive Edition. This is something we talked about recently. We were like, hey, all right. Like, Division 3 is setting up to be a monster. Go play some Division 1 and maybe 2. It's not what you thought it would be. It's not what I thought it would be. It's kind of funny, actually. It's $50 and you get the Division 1 with all its DLC. There's no like do bells and whistles. Like, I mean, I don't think this is a bad idea, but this game is like how old now? And I feel like this was a 2018 thing. Like, okay, we're done. We're moving on to the Division 2, which is I think 2019 or something like that. Okay. Definitive edition for this, get warmed up for Division 2. We've seen this. Atlas taught us this, like, run it back, right? And I think Ubisoft is well aware of like what running it back means. Bro, this is weird. This is a weird, like, okay, sure. Like I just can't wrap my head around what they're doing in some ways because I'm like, this is just like such a little safe softball. Like, we're doing this because we know y'all can't get mad. Like, whatever. Like, it's the same game. Like, it's fine, right? Like, I don't know. What do you think though? You're shaking your head right as I started the story.
Yeah, this is extremely disappointing. I mean, like this was like such a layup for goodwill, to me, because it's like, yo, you've already promoted D3. You're saying, yo, we really going to go back to S. It's going to be one of our biggest titles. Here's a perfect way, even if you don't do the remake, right? You just, hey, from a technical standpoint, we did these level ups. We've added this. And it's just, bro, all you did was just a compilation of all the content and just did you slap $50 on this at this time? Like, I'm offended by the 50.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, by the 50 at this level, bro, like, come on, man. So to me, this is going to scream cash grabby. It's going to scream desperate. Hey, remember us? We're coming. Like, that is. Yeah. And I like Division. What's funny, that Division fans don't like me, but I like Division. But like, bro, like, this ain't it. This ain't it. You could have really garnered goodwill if you did this right. Okay. And people love D1. Division 1, New York, cold winter, like people love this. All you did was like you just did a collection and left exit stage right. Like we supposed to be popping bottles for this. Like, no. I'm not impressed. Sorry. No.
Agreed. Well, Cog, you'll be relieved to know Beyond Good and Evil 2 has a pulse. Creative director Fawzi Mesmer posted on his LinkedIn. Thank you to everyone who has reached out to me over the past few days in regards to the recent news at Ubisoft. Myself, my team, and our project Beyond Good and Evil 2 are unaffected by the recent changes. I would direct you to the official press release for more information around the latest organizational structure. So, Cog, we had the report from Mr. Henderson at Insider Gaming, but now we know for sure Beyond Good and Evil 2 is safe. So with that fresh in our minds, we talked about it kind of like, wow, this is the one that survived. How are we feeling now knowing it's official? They got by unscathed. So in the midst of all these layoffs, reorganization of the creative houses, project cancellations, the one that's in development for 17 years, unaffected.
Great sign for this project. They really feel good about it. It's got to be,
right? You never know, but you have to think.
You would have to think, especially when we talked about what was the one, the Prince of Persia remake that we thought would be such a slam dunk, right? We like, damn, that didn't survive it. So yeah, good for them. Obviously, I'm not the Beyond Good and Evil 2 guy, but it's clearly that there is enough here that they were able to impress internally. We need to continue. So good for them. Good for the people who love this franchise. At least you guys are going to get that. I wish I could say this was like Splinter Cell or something. I could be part of the fun. Yeah. I don't feel part of the fun.
Time's coming, but dude, I don't know if they think a stealth franchise is going to pull them out of the ditch.
Yeah, I have to be realistic. Yeah, like it look like it's a wrap for me. So yeah, but good shout out to y'all. Y'all got what y'all want.
Yeah, there you go. This next one's a little sad, man. A studio with the world of potential. 2 different games came from them that I remember had a lot of hype and anticipation behind them. And unfortunately, the studio is officially dissolved. And that studio is Comcept here. This is according to the local media outlet GameBiz, who spotted over through Gamatsu that the company filed a notice of dissolution on January 29th to the Campo Government Gazette. So for those who don't know, Comcept was I'm sure Colin has talked to everyone about this, but they were the studio founded by Keiji Inafune, who was the, head of Mega Man, basically. Like he's really what was behind the popularization of Mega Man. They launched the Kickstarter for Mighty Number 9, which brought in millions of dollars in funding. And those millions of dollars for a lot of people went to waste because Mighty Number 9 had a very poor reception from backers, had a poor reception from reviews. Like it was one of the most tragic Kickstarter campaigns because, there was a lot of excitement. It released and it just did not deliver for almost anybody. Then they went on to make, remember this one, Xbox fans? ReCore. Yeah. Oh, ReCore, man. During the dark days of Xbox, we would take anything. And there comes ReCore. And I'm like, you know what? Why not? And that game, little bit better than Mighty Number 9, but again, kind of mixed. Just not as sharp as it could have been, not as fun to play, not as engaging, not as interesting. And that was it. Otherwise, they go into co-development efforts until they have now officially dissolved. And it's kind of sad because I think this studio went out with a whimper when they kind of arrived onto the scene with a bit of a bang. They had like 2 big projects that were like really people were willing to get behind, willing to offer their support for. But it's just a shame to see that this is kind of Keiji Inafune kind of bowing out to an extent too. So Cog, your thoughts on Comcept going away forever?
It's sad. It is sad, man. This guy is Inafune, man. Wow. I am not the Mega Man guy, but I know what his name means and how much it rings bells. And I remember the Mighty Number 9, the build up, and people were super excited to see what that project was going to be and him kind of behind it. And to see that, I was there for the ReCore launch. And I remember there was some form of excitement when his name was mentioned. And I do remember getting it. I mean, I was like, it's just kind of average for me. Wasn't anything for me. But yeah, it's sad to see, a legend and his team, kind of, the dissolving of that. That's really sad to see. It kind of parallels to me with as a Sega fan with Yu Suzuki, and I don't know if it's a situation where, again, I would defer to the Mighty Number 9 fans, and you guys are telling me, people who are really invested, like, is it a situation where the legend may have lost a step and things are not translating in the modern era? Because I could always speak for my legend, and Suzuki was mine, and I remember, when I supported the hell out of that shit. I went so hard with that shit, and then I got it. I'm just like, you have that tough conversation with yourself.
Yeah, you're like, this is what I hope for.
Bro, you like, damn, my legend. It's like watching like one of your favorite fighters get old.
Yeah, I was gonna say the favorite UFC fighter just seeing the age get put out on their ass, and you're like, yeah.
You're like, it's painful to see it. I'm like, man, he's been lapped in everything. And then I've seen, you know, as I'll talk about what I play now, like RGG kind of doing what I thought he was going to do from the evolution of Shenmue kind of thing. So I'm just curious for the, you know, Inafune fans, like, how did they feel, you know, with him and in the work that preceded? You know, is it a situation where the legend lost a step and it just never really resonated in modern audiences? So that's sad.
It is sad. In more uplifting news here, I just want to talk about a little indie game that came out recently called Cairn. This is from the Game Bakers. You may know them for games like Haven, which was on Game Pass for a while. You may also know them for Fury, which I remember playing back in 2016, and that was a really fun game here. But they just released a game called Cairn, where it's a survival climber game. And it sold 200K copies, which, I mean, sorry, part of my closed-mindedness, I was really surprised when I saw this stat, though, where I was like, really? Like, I thought of we've been getting a lot of climbing games these days. And I don't know, I guess there's a climbing community that just loves the serenity of scaling a mountain and camping out and talking to characters. But 200K sales, $30 a pop, nothing to scoff at. This is a great success, it looks like, for a team that has a really interesting release schedule. If you look at them on Steam, they'll do things like Fury, and then they'll do like a little mini game here. They did Squid Odyssey, and it's got very little reviews or anything like that, but it just came out between that and Haven. And then after Haven, they did a Fury demake, which is an 8-bit demake of their Fury game fan. It's only one boss or game, I said, but it's only one boss fight, but it's just a little gift for their fans. And then they made Cairn after. So just really interesting to see kind of how this company handles itself. But yeah, they make very different, vibrant style games. And it looks like Cairn has reviewed pretty well online. It's captured a lot of people and it's selling really well. So that was really cool to see as we're entering like a very busy period of game that we have a little indie success that I wanted to shout out.
Oh yeah, I love that because I shout out to you, but shout out to Sov. He put me on last LP. He was like, bro, it's Cairn. I'm like, what is this? And I was like, climbing game. He's like, yeah. And I looked at that trailer. I'm looking at the Steam. First of all, the art style looks beautiful. I really am captivated by the art direction. And it's funny because I was like, what's this with this climbing push? Because I was like, remember when Just Saw It or whatever came out?
That's what it was called. I was like, what was the other climbing game?
I was like, what is this thing? And the climbing community is here if it's done right. And I go front, like, it does have artsy fartsy cog energy. So I'm like, you know what? I might have to check it out. I am liking what it's putting down. And then it looks like it has some form of a narrative. And there's also different perspectives besides just the climbing and the food mechanic. And there's all the stuff going on in the backpack. And there's some survival joy. So I think the survival outdoor bros is like, yo, they speaking to us. They got one for us. You know what I'm saying? I am feeling the way this game looks. I'm not going to hold you. So yes, I have to give it a shot.
Awesome. Yeah. Good to put it on your radar then.
Yes.
So shout out to the Game Bakers. Congrats on what seems to be a pretty big success for them.
200K, let's go.
You know what game didn't sell over 1 million copies, Cog? That's Metroid Prime 4, it looks like here. Little concerning here. Nintendo's latest financial results are noticeably silent on Metroid Prime 4. By the way, I should make it clear. I'm messing around. We don't really know the sales of Metroid Prime 4. They were taking it and running with it. We don't know yet, but I imagine...
I have an update for us.
Oh, you do?
Okay. I have an update, so we don't look too crazy. The punching up gang don't come out. Okay. All right, so I'll just give it to you from Totillo. Because apparently this was upsetting. Switch Bros was upset. They did not like it. We'll read this and then we'll read the update and you will see.
So Steven Totillo said, following some consternation about neither the Switch nor Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 making Nintendo's million seller list for the period ending December 31st, a Nintendo rep told me that the combined sales of those two versions have, in fact, passed 1 million copies. Okay, good to... Thank you, Cog. That's exactly what I was just joking about. Thank you.
Good. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. There's no word on sales for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment unless Steven Totillo has something. Does he have something on that as well?
I'm checking. Steve's on the ball. Usually him and Stealth. Those are my people. You know what I'm saying?
What we do have numbers on is Kirby Air Riders sold 1.76 million units here. So that's looking pretty good. Overall, Nintendo sales are looking good. Switch 2 is like the fastest selling console ever. The launch title in Mario Kart World is at 14.03 million units, including those sold in the console bundles. Pokemon Legends ZA has sold a combined 12.3 million copies, but only 3.89 million of those are on Switch 2. So what's so depressing about Pokemon fans' standards, as someone who likes a janky game themselves, is that most of the people who bought it for the Switch 1, where it was way, like, I already thought the Switch 2 version was bad. It was way worse on the Switch 1.
Yeah.
Like, really bad. That was surprising. Switch port of Super Mario Galaxy hit 2.28 million. Donkey Kong Bonanza, 4.25 million. How about that for DK?
Right. DK did his thing,
snaps for DK. Okay. Galaxy 2, 2.42 million have sold based on their launch for October 2nd. So, yeah, dude, like, Nintendo just pumping out millies here. No problems whatsoever. But anything stand out to you here with these numbers? For me, it's Mario Kart World. I mean, I made a bet with a friend. Like, I didn't think Sonic Racing would ever beat Mario Kart, but I thought Sonic Racing would put up past a milli.
I know.
They came out, they talked their talk. They put an old school Sega versus Nintendo commercial out there, which I thought was great. They openly challenged Mario Kart. They put out a great video game.
And some people feel it's a better game.
That too. I enjoy it more. Yes. I would go that. I enjoy it more. Not to pass a milli though, man. Sonic took a huge punch in the face here. Like, you didn't have any clout, brother. 14 versus below a million. Nintendo's like, yeah, do that again. Do that again.
Say our name again and see what happens.
Yeah, they said you pulled out the guest characters. You got Joker, Ichiban, you got Hatsune Miku in here, SpongeBob was here, and y'all still couldn't put up a milli. So if I'm Sega, I'm feeling a little wounded here. I'm never greenlighting another Sonic Racing game either. I just could not handle that embarrassment again. But they tried. But that to me was the most astonishing one, the gap between these two. You cannot deny Mario Kart World's influence.
Absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, this show called The Wire. And one of my favorite characters is a character named Oh Boy. It is a classic line. He's like, when you come for the king, you best not miss. And that's what happened here. Like, they kudos to them. Like, I remember being in that theater with the marketing and the announce of Sonic Racing. I was like, oh, they outside, they coming for them like that. And to their credit, the game was good, but it's just the mind share and Nintendo is just too much of a juggernaut to beat. So I'm just shocked that they didn't get more of a penetration in the market, considered how hard they market it. I will say this though, I don't want them to
hard. I think you know what I think it was though, bro.
What you think?
The only thing I could throw out there is I think price might have got them, because when they were like charging, like, I think it was 70 or something like that. I think the value proposition there
versus because only Mario could get away with that.
Yeah, even though Mario did not get nearly as much post-launch support as Sonic Racing did, I think that was like the blow, because
I agree.
Sonic games are a known quality, like 60 and below.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And up, tougher sell. And
that's fair. That's fair. Because some people can say, okay, this is a race. Yeah, I can see what you say, but I can see how there could be consumer, caution. Like, I don't know if I'm willing to plop 70 for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously the perfect world, if it was maybe a little bit low, live servicey, and you say like 40, and then you got a whole roadmap and more characters and stuff like that. But yeah, this is disappointing, man. Nintendo with another punch in the mouth, to my beloved Sega. Damn.
Well, hey, at least Shadow Generations passed 2 million sales, right? That would have been a devastating failure if Shadow just wasn't that dude anymore. I think that would have stung. But yeah, Nintendo doing Nintendo things. As we're talking right now, they have a direct for tomorrow morning. It's a part of their direct, so we'll see what that is. Yeah, we'll see what that is, because they got a couple of games coming out soon, like Pokemon Pocopia. There was that Mario Tennis game coming out soon. So they got some stuff happening, but I'm curious to see what else they're lining up for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Cog, let's shift into what games we are playing this week. I didn't look at this before the show, but you got a hell of a lineup here, dude. All right, let's see. Let's go down the batting order. Let's see what you've got going on here. The shirt says a lot. Let's dive in.
So leading off, shout out to Xbox, man. I didn't see this coming. Pirate Yakuza, man, Like a Dragon, Majima. And I felt so bad for this game last year. If you remember, Maddie, we were in review hell. We had Avowed.
Oh, yeah.
KCD2 in the same month, damn near.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, Yakuza, why are you trying to come out around that time? And I knew, I was like, I'm not playing it. Because I was like, I knew, obviously, the Black Rock came out first, but we knew KCD was the juggernaut. And once KCD got his hooks in me, I was just like, this is, that game, I rocked that game for the whole year. You know what I'm saying? So that was that. So yeah, I just felt bad for the release. So I never got around to it. So I'm checking out socials. I'm like, people like, yo, Carl, Game Pass stealth drop. What? Okay. Let's see what it is. So look, as a person who played and beat Infinite Wealth, I was very curious because this game looked crazy as hell, right? And then it's focusing on Goro Majima, who is a beloved character. But I think we've all said, like, we never got enough depth in him as a main protagonist to see where that's going to go. My main thing is, this game is goofy as hell, man. Yeah. Why is this man showing up damn near naked on the beach with a little boy? What's going on? What are we doing? I know it sounds wild because this is nothing crazy for a Yakuza series, but it's just like, what are we doing? So you start off, and I will admit, it is funny, it's hilarious, but I just gotta be real. Here's my main issue right now. I know Yakuza bros are gonna be mad, but it's like, I just don't like the series in the beat 'em up old school flow. I just still struggle. Now they have made improvements. I love the character folk. You got your strong attack, your weak attack, and all that. The dope thing is now everything is aerial combat, right? So you could do things, launchers, get people up in the air, do this stuff. That's dope. Then the dodge mechanic, super dope. So you have RB, focus on, then you could do your little weave, get up around enemies. That's dope. Then they've got the heat moves. Okay, cool. It's flashy. It's over the top, stuff like that. So for me right now, I'm like 2 chapters in. I just started, just came out. And I'm having fun with it. Don't get me wrong. But it's just like, I got to get to where the ship combat is. And my main concern right now is he's telling the story. You know, like the game tells you the story of him later. And, this is the part. Like he's narrating his own thing. That's what the game's kind of doing. And I just hope that throughout all the goofiness and the stuff that my concern is, do they give this character the proper context and backstory that we deserve? This is a very complex character. And I could tell they're flirting with like the morality of him as he's trying to remember what has happened. And then my main question is, how does it link to Infinite Wealth? I love Infinite Wealth. There was very powerful things suggested at the end of that story. And I know this is a side story. I know from my understanding, 28 plus hours. It's not going to be as long as the major joints. But my concern is, are you just doing this goof troop kind of game to be silly? Or are we really advancing storylines and really fulfilling this character? So the jury's going to be out. I am having fun with it. Waiting to get to the ship combat, because people told me the ship combat is lit. You get your pirates on. Okay. Yeah. But my early thing right now is a game that is trying to do a lot of different things. Regular combat, island combat, ship combat. There's just a lot going on. And I'm concerned is, does the sum of all these parts make this a good game, or you just wilding out and just doing whatever you want to do? So that's where I'm at. So we'll see. But I wanted to give them a shout for taking the Game Pass back because they needed it. I'm going to assume it, got swallowed up in that February of last year with the 2025. So, but so far so good. And we'll see if we have any references to, the OGs, because there's one guy that's carrying the torch, right? With turn base, but we gonna see. I'm gonna give.
What's the next game you're playing, huh?
And on that note, we'll move on to the next one with enough Kiryu slander. So the next one is, look, we just talked about it with Highguard, and I uninstalled the game immediately after 343. I had my fill.
Right, you uninstalling? That's so funny to me. Go ahead.
I was like, I see what I did,
science,
bro. And I woke up, I was just sitting there, and I'm on my Twitter feed one night, and it was like, Highguard, we listened 5v5 now, and I'm like, damn, I'm about to talk about this game on IOP on Sunday. I will be a fraud if I didn't at least try, because I was legit shocked at how quickly they were able to implement this and put this in. So we gave it a shot. Look, I ain't gonna front. Way better. It is much better. Like the engagements now, especially during the siege mechanic, when you have 5 people, 1,000 times better. It feels like the map is more filled out.
Good to hear.
I still hate that the supers are weak as hell. I still hate that there's certain guns that I just feel are just really weak. But it is better. Is it enough to save this game? I don't know. But we will keep on seeing how much they implement it. But I have to admit, now the key is going to be map design, because clearly these maps weren't really designed for 5v5. Will they make new maps? Will they edit the current maps for the flow of it? But I have to admit, like, it plays so much better in this mode. And kudos to them. So that's really all I had to add with that. I didn't expect, it was something completely unexpected. It's probably going to get uninstalled again until they come up with something else. Because again,
busy man, he's got other places to be.
I got other places to be, other things to see. And again, you know how I feel right now.
What the heart wants, right?
The heart. I'm gonna tell you what the heart was. It's very controversial. The heart been one marathon. Bro, these trailers. They showed the Assassin's class. They showed the Destroyer class, which is almost like a Titan type. Bro, I am fully in love with these runners and these shells. I am super hyped for marathon.
It's so amazing how they're coming back, bro.
With a vengeance. And these trailers are so good. Impressed. Very impressive with the gameplay mechanics. So that's my March competitive game, right? So I'm just I was just being nice to Highguard. Hey, you did something. You listened. Okay, cool. My issue right now is I still don't think you have enough characters. I still talk as far as the gameplay, the supers, and more modes. I don't know if you're going to survive. The minute Arc Raiders or someone come out with an update,
they need to beat the marathon hype probably. Like, I think that would be, if I'm them, try to get a beat by that point.
Yeah, and I don't know what they can do, as a smaller team. So that's what's that. And then the last is just my beautiful Final Fantasy 97, man. I got a funny thing now, because obviously Aerith is in the party. And I have to say, I'm Team Aerith all day. I have. Oh, I didn't know that. This is a controversial thing.
I'm a dude, but I mean, like, I think Aerith is amazing. Like, they do such a good job with her.
My God, she does such a great job, because as it's going on, and you realize her role as far as her connection to the planet and stuff, and then again, as a person who played the original, I mean, that was like, now that I think about it, that was the first, maybe the second major death in a video game that really affected me. And remember the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, they did that. I was heartbroken. I couldn't, because you had that attachment to the character. And then what's dope is now I'm replaying Remake, and clearly they're doing their own thing here. But the thing I'm really liking is the individuality of everybody in combat, and her style with the Tempest and the thing. Like, I'm having a ball, man. Yeah. So I'm getting close. I think I'm getting close. And then once I do that, I got Integrate lined up, and then I'll get the Yuffie Wutai, because now I'm understanding from the first story I didn't know they were doing Integrate when I played the original Final Fantasy VII. So now that I'm replaying it, and they keep mentioning the Wutai and this other faction and everything that's going on with this other thing, I'm like, oh, that's the Integrate stuff. So it's just hitting different. I'm in like this love fest right now. Like, I'm just
such a good feeling.
It's such a good feeling, and I'm like, damn, I love this game. I love this game. I would love to talk with Brad, because I know he's a big Rebirth guy, but I'm curious. Where is he? I never got a chance to ask him, but probably next time I get on something. I was like, where does he have them ranked? Because the more I play this, I'm like, they need to go back to this. And now, I don't know if you heard, just announced, at least the rumor is your boy might be right. They saying that the rumor is 3 already has its name, and that it's going to be simultaneous multi-platform release. We're getting the thing. I'll shoot you the thing. I think I shot it to you from I shot it to you. Check your
the Nate the Hate one. He said that was a prediction, but I think it's like a pretty, like, given how Square is moving right now, I think it's pretty on the money. Yeah.
Gotta give your boy some credit if it comes through, because I've been putting that energy out. They was doubting me, man. And I think it's just perfect, because I want this thing to really nail it and have that worldwide success at the same time. Now they got a lot of things, because apparently with the ending of 2, you beat 2, because I didn't.
Yeah, I beat 2. Yeah.
The vibe was they left so much questions. and people are like worried.
I was watching a Maximilian dude video.
Yeah,
and he's a huge Final Fantasy VII guy.
Yes.
He proposed something interesting that I had not thought about until this week, which is there just might be a fourth part. I think there's a lot of unresolved stuff. And if they're going to hit, like, so far they've thoroughly hit everything. And if they want to thoroughly hit everything in the back half/third of the game, I think they might need a little more time. I don't know, man. Like it could go either way. I just, especially with Zachary's involvement. I'm just saying, bro. Like I think that's a whole element that did not get a lot of attention in Rebirth. I think a third part and a fourth part makes sense. When he started talking like that, I went, you know what? Thinking that it's got to be a 3-part series is probably wrong. And I'm sure Square is sitting there like, oh, you want a fourth part? Go right ahead. Like, we'll sell another part. Go right ahead. You know, but I once he proposed that idea, I was like, yeah, there is just a lot of ground for them to cover. Just a lot. There's certain party members that we have not even like
fully fleshed out,
spent time with. So I don't think fans would really fight, especially with the development timelines for these games. I don't think fans would really fight with them being like, hey, we're going to do a fourth part. I think, you know, this is a special game. It's the definitive JRPG of all time. Like if they want to make 4 parts for this remake and just do it right and do it thoroughly, go right ahead. There won't be anything like this once it's done. So go right ahead. But yeah, with you bringing that up, it's just funny because that was on my head. Like it made me think, especially Square was a little funny lately. I mean, it's already on the console versions, but I don't know if you saw, they like put a Steam update where now there's the 2013 edition of Final Fantasy VII. I did peep and then they put like some gameplay updates in the other one that had like, you know, you could turn on like God mode easily, that sort of stuff that's in all the old Final Fantasy games. So I just thought that was a little interesting as well. You know, that they're tinkering with old Final Fantasy still to this day.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So I love that you're loving it though. Yeah, I'm excited for whenever that third part comes around, bro. I think we could see it this year. Like,
I think so. It's a chance. You know, I've been doing like I said, about 2 to 3 missions per night. You know, it's my comfort food right before I go to bed. Get like 2 or 3 in, and I've just been loving it, man. But yeah, that's been pretty much. Oh yeah, bro. Save me. I think I told you. Save me at the what you call it, the dealership when I went to, because I had a battery. Oh, bro, I was in heaven, and I found the setting to maximize my joint. I am good. Over 60. I'm looking. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Good.
Oh, by the way, Yakuza Play Anywhere as well.
Oh,
like big good
maximizing the platform right now. There we go.
Now I can play you. I can finish you. You know what I'm saying? For sure.
For me, my Resident Evil pilgrimage continues on. RE3 remake done. First time playing this one.
Okay.
I went into this knowing that it was a very divisive release. Like, oh, Capcom, like in a rare move, kind of under-delivered here. And even as someone who's not played the original, I feel that. This felt more like a Resident Evil 2 remake expansion rather than a full remake and rethinking of the third game. Especially when I was just looking at clips of the original and how Nemesis was involved. Like, bro, they turned him into a set piece.
Straight up.
And it's really disappointing in that regard. And it's also a shame because 3 remake here, like, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. Like, there's no undoing this, because to get to where Requiem's going, like, part of my ignorance here, again, as someone who never played 3, like the whole thing that happens at the end kind of sets up where we're going to be exploring in Requiem. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is cool. Like, I'm connecting that dot. That was a cool feeling.
Yes.
But otherwise, I also recognize, I'm like, wait, Jill doesn't come back. Like, this game has just so much stink on it. I'm just like, what's going on here, bro? I love Jill. But I thought the game was fun. I love this Resident Evil gameplay style. I read the comments last week. I'm trying to remember if I was like crashing out or anything. Was I? I was like,
I don't remember you crashing.
I thought I passed it to the audience in a very generous, like, hey guys, it's Matt here. Let me know what you think about this. But I got comments everywhere from like, this dude doesn't play games.
Damn.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? I was like, what happened last week, guys? Like,
what they were upset about? What was the point of contention?
There was a couple of points. Well, there was, first and foremost, I talked a bit about how the damage output in RE2 remake, I'm just not a huge fan of. Like,
I don't remember.
I get what they're going for, but like, I enjoy, your Dead Space, like, I shoot you in the head, you're dead as a doornail. This game goes for more of a, I'll shoot you 9 times. There's an adaptive difficulty. If you have a lot of ammo, it's going to take like 10, 11, 12 shots. And some people are like, well, you should shoot them in the legs and run by it. I'm like, that feels like shit to me though. Like, I don't want to do that, especially these zombies get back up, bro. Yeah. So that was my 2 cents on it. RE3 remake, because it has like a dodge mechanic and like the perfect dodge is there.
Yeah,
kind of like that. I like just that quick dodge, hit L2, slow-mo, draw the weapon, take 3 shots at them, drop them.
Nice.
Great mechanic. Love that. Running around Raccoon City, the opening of this game, I think, was the strongest. That was a ton of fun. I love that. I wish there were more like puzzle solving segments of this game, more resource management. I barely use the item box in this game. Like, it's just a really weird Resident Evil game, at least in the remake state. It was weird enough where I want to play the original for this and be like, what is that? But right now, that's like a future Maddie thing. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to do that now. I'm all in on what Capcom's been recommending to play. So 3 remake was done.
Okay.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I spent like $20 on it to get the physical copy. I don't feel like I got robbed for the experience I got there. But when you notice that like there's no real replay value here, they shut down Resident Evil Mercenaries or whatever that multiplayer mode was. Like, this is just such a pit stop video game. Very quick in and out. So I played that. Carlos happens here. I forgot he's in the game, by the way. Yeah, that was the only other interesting element the game had, was like Umbrella and Stars working together there. But yeah, I love Jill Valentine. Hope we see more of her at some point down the line here, because she, I don't know, bro. Like, you played as her in the RE5 DLC. I remember that. That was cool. Yeah. I love that little callback there. RE5 had some really good DLC, and that was one of them. But now I'm on to RE4 remake here. So I'm playing as Leon. We got the parry back here. We got the coat. We got confident Leon, shit talking Leon. He's been in the government training for a while. This is no longer rookie cop Leon. I got to say, it's been awesome to see all the little details in these games, that watching how Capcom has built off of RE2 remake and 3 remake here into 4 remake, just little scenes to open up the game, like the explosion above Raccoon City and just the things happening in RE2 storyline that Leon's like recollecting. Like, you can feel they've built a continuous thread here. Like, Resident Evil isn't known for its stories. I'm not going to oversell any of them, because it's more just I want to know what these characters have gone through and what they're going to reflect on. But that made it really rewarding to open this game up. RE4 remake is a blast, though. I mean, this is one of the best survival horror games of all time. So of course, and I think they did the remake some justice. I was talking to a friend about it. Dare I put it to the comments one more time? I'm curious as to your thoughts, though. I'll take a risk again. I'm curious what people think about some of the new elements that they added to the remake here. I like, for example, that there's a parry here. I think that's interesting. It fits Leon's character. Like, this dude's a fucking badass. Like, yeah, he's going to parry your chainsaw with a knife because he can. Like, I love that sort of leaning into that just cool guy doing a really cool thing type of energy that just Leon carries here. I love that, like, you can shoot and weaken enemies and run up and melee them and like break their necks with a kick. Like, that is like one of the opening cutscenes of this game is so sick, because he kicks a dude so hard his neck is literally at a right angle. It's crazy, dude. So I love how powerful they make Leon. I'm curious how people feel about what I was talking to a friend about. The only way I can describe it is some of the AAA-ness that kind of seeps into this game. This shit's covered in yellow paint, dog. I don't want to hear from anybody. That aside, though, moving on from that, side quests. I can't get down with the side quests. Like, the whole, oh, here's the shopkeeper who's already out of place is now giving you side quests to go rat exterminating or to go shoot out blue medallions. And there's just nothing grounding it in this world. I'm like, who's giving this side quest? Like, I know Resident Evil games are fun and I'm having a fun time, but I'm just like, I need a little morsel of something. Like, someone in the comments, help me. I'm calling this call for help, man. Like, I'm just wondering, like, yeah, just a little disconnect here. I'm doing these side quests because I just want to do them. I'm doing a New Game Plus. I love, by the way, that both these RE games didn't have New Game Plus. So like, when I fired up Resident Evil 2 Remake, like, you have second run, but there's no like, here's all of your gear from your playthrough. I love that RE4 Remake, bro. I start off, I got the fully upgraded pistol. I got an SMG, sniper rifle, shotgun. And I had a ton of other weapons I hadn't messed around with yet that I can upgrade now. So this second playthrough is about to go hard. Like, I love that there's more for me to explore. I'm playing on a harder difficulty because of it. So I'm having fun with it, but I'm just curious again how people feel about the side quests and that sort of stuff. Otherwise, though, I mean, like, this has been a blast so far. I'm on chapter 5 right now and just, been chipping away through that. I'm going to start putting pedal to metal here. Like, right now I've been like book up here, games down here. Yeah. We're shifting because now we're getting close to Requiem territory. Yeah. So it's time to burn through this 6, 7, 8.
Yes.
So we got some work ahead of us here. We're almost there, but it's time to, I'm going to shift
turn up
gears
a little bit.
Yeah. But RE4 Remake has been great thus far. Excited to dive into 6 after all this and see how that feels. So we'll talk soon on that, probably next week.
Nice.
I had an inquiry about Trails Through Daybreak I wanted to answer because I've got this question a lot on my streams, and I get this question a lot when we get right in. So I wanted definitively to answer it. Turd Ferguson says, hey, Maddie, this question is for you. Have you had the chance to play Trails Beyond the Horizon yet? I just finished the game and it blew me away. Daybreak 2 is a bit weak in my opinion, but Horizon totally turned the ship around and took the story to a place that left me speechless. I know I have recency bias, but I think Horizon might be the best Trails game yet. Anyway, curious as to hear if you have any thoughts on this game. So not yet, but look, I'll tell you this, bro. I played the demo for this game. As someone who's played all the Trails games,
talk to me.
The title menu tells you everything. There's some games where they start up and you're like, another Trails game. Like you can just like, I'm trying to think, you know how Drewski has that show where dudes like pull up before they even
you got to impress
get out of here. Yeah. that's how I am with Trails. Like the title menu hits, I'm like, okay. Or it's like, now get him out of here. So with Daybreak, bro, the first thing you see is the title menu. It's very somber. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, this is gonna be a special one. Mm-hmm. I just could tell because Daybreak 2's, which was bad, this is not a great game, shows up and I'm like, it's just like, So I want to play this game. I've heard great things, especially when certain MCs are back. In particular, my favorite MCs in the whole franchise are back. Okay. So I'm going to be all over this one. Like I mentioned, everyone, I was planning the Resident Evil pilgrimage, wanted to get some more indies in there. So I kind of opted out on Trails. Funny, Trails is basically from an indie studio, but I digress. Wanted to opt out for the time being and play this a little bit later when the schedule slowed down some more. And I didn't have like these big franchises I was looking forward to the newest entries in. But this is something I'm going to play, no doubt. Like, I trust me. I want to play it before Sky 2 Remake as well, because, I mean, look, man, like, it's raining Trails right now. You know, you got Sky Remake, and then just a couple months later was Horizon. Like, it was a lot. So yeah, man, the game looks fantastic. And like, you can already tell also with the way they upgraded combat animations, presentation, playable characters. This is one of those Trails games, especially also because they mark their whole story arc by percentages.
Okay.
And I think, and like, you know, after Daybreak 2, I think they said we're at 75%. And then Horizon released and they said we're at 90.
Oh, wow.
And that's a massive jump.
Okay.
And I'm glad they did it though, because they were talking about how the team's kind of getting burnt out on Trails and they kind of want to start. It's been like 14 games, dog. Like
that's a lot of games, bro.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. So
Jesus.
They're getting there. They're close. And I feel like this looked like it was going to be the big jump to kind of concluding the arc and
to advance the arc.
You know, it's not necessarily Daybreak 3 from what I understand. It seems like what Horizon's doing is kind of what Reverie did, where it's kind of a gather them all and put them on like different trails, literally, for their journey and kind of have them unite at the end in like a really meaningful way. So I'm excited, bro. I'm excited to get involved.
Are you concerned about with so much investment that they land the plane?
No, because if there's anything this fucking series has done, it's take its time. I think the only thing, and honestly, this is after not playing Daybreak. Mm-hmm. There's some answers like the Grandmaster, like who are they? What are they up to? That I hope this game does pull the threads back on and pull the current back on, because I feel like that's a thread that's been like, for example, Kondo has said that every Trails game has had this character in it. So I'm hoping for like when that reveal happens, it's so obviously in front of the whole community that it's this retroactive, like, what? My guess is it's some sort of like shapeshifter character that has been all these different characters at different points. Trails has always been very coy with how characters speak to one another. And there are moments where people will point to like one line in one scene and Falcom will build a whole storyline off of that. Okay. That's what's special about the series, right? So I think they'll land the plane. I do. I have really no concerns. And these games are cheap enough for them to make and maintain that if they need another go around, you know, like one more story, I think they'll do it. So yeah, I just wanted to answer that question because a lot of people have been asking me, but I will be playing Daybreak. Don't worry. That is a very, very good looking game here. So, or I said Daybreak, Horizon. I'll be playing Horizon.
Yes, sir.
All right, Cog, that's what we're playing this week. Let's talk some Xbox news. This first headline here, caught us a bit off guard here. I really respect Obsidian Entertainment's transparency. I think it's easy to, in the light of Avowed and everything, which I have my own thoughts on, it's very easy to see what was happening with them and how, well, we got 3 games out and they had this marketing tagline of like the Year of Obsidian, like it was this championship worthy moment for them. But in a very transparent write-up done by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who visited Obsidian Entertainment, we learned that the Year of Obsidian is kind of a lie. And I don't mean that in a negative, destructive way, but it's not what it was made out to be. It was made out to be this, again, championship, this celebration, a big deal. But as Josh Sawyer mentions in this article, he says it's a sign that things aren't right, that they've messed up. And that was because games like Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2 took almost 7 years to make. They took too long to make. Grounded 2 wasn't going to happen until Eidos Montreal got involved. And so all of their teams, all of their resources were stretched thin because you want to have these releases spaced out so no one gets burnt out. And so what the result is in this write-up, among many other things, I'd like to read it in full, but
yes, please.
Well, I can't because
but you can't because it's like so long.
Paywall. This wasn't paywalled at first, but I got paywalled anyway from memory, and then you can help me out on the rest. We learned that The Outer Worlds 2 underperformed in sales. This was a conclusion we arrived at pretty easily given its player count and the lack of noise online, despite it being a much better game, the reaction to $80, et cetera, et cetera. Avowed was also confirmed to have underperformed, whereas Grounded 2 was a pretty big hit here. There was a number of other things to pick out here. One thing was them mentioning that they're going to try to turn their studio into more 3 to 4 year development timelines instead of what they were stuck in right here with like 6, almost 7. They said it's not good for everyone, and they're rethinking how they make games. They actually point to, funny enough, Fallout New Vegas. And they say how Fallout New Vegas was a game that they made on $8 million, and they were primarily built off of the assets Bethesda Game Studios made. And Fergus Urquhart made an example of like, are people going to care if we have the same inventory screen? And it hasn't been completely rethought. And it's not like hundreds of persons' salaries for months and months dedicated to just the inventory. And the answer was always no, right? And I think it was a perfect example because you think of Fallout 3 and New Vegas having the same HUD, right? It's all ran through the Pip-Boy, and then there's a separate start menu that allows you to like save your game, load your game options, all that stuff, right? Like it's all there, but no one was going, man, why didn't they rethink that? They wanted more Fallout, and that allowed Obsidian to focus on characters, storylines, reactivity, and now what is considered the best Fallout game ever made. So I think their mindset is pretty great here. But overall, they're describing it as not wanting to repeat the Year of Obsidian, and that it's not necessarily a knockout punch, but it's sort of reset them a bit of that sucks. What can we learn from this is how they described it. And the article does pull from 2012, where they mentioned how Obsidian was making a game with Microsoft. It got canceled. And because it got canceled, Obsidian was about to shut down. Funny enough, they go back to Microsoft, and now they're in a position where 30% margin is a factor.
Brought up. Yes,
and it was brought up and confirmed, even though Microsoft denied it. I'm glad you caught that too. We'll talk about that as well. But now they're in this position where they've had 2 games that underperformed. They spent a lot of resources on one game that did well. And so even though it's the Year of Obsidian, they had a high level of output, money's not really showing up. Right. So now they're kind of, again, like 1 foot back here. They're going to do Outer Worlds DLC. They're not doing an Outer Worlds 3. So the Avalon tweet was confirmed. They're going to make more stories in the Avowed universe. Correct. We'll see what that ends up being here. But in light of all of this, they have to consider that 30% profit margin. And all that they really had to say on this is that in light of the profit margin, they hope Xbox will still embrace riskier projects. So I wonder about Obsidian's decision-making here, and sort of with them trying to get shorter development timelines, that usually comes down to like, how many assets can we flip? What can we get off the ground right away? You know, versus again, what we're seeing here with the 30% profit margin, what's going to make money? Right. And how can we hit that target? Will Xbox shut us down if we don't hit that target? They're in a much tougher spot than I think anyone could have really imagined. Where again, I don't think they're close to a shutdown, but I kind of viewed them, maybe you disagree, or maybe I was just naive. I viewed them as not like, you're never invincible in these types of corporate environments. They're not untouchable either, but I viewed them as probably on the higher tier of the most protected. Like, hey, these guys have been producing all generation. But when you get to this point here where their two biggest investments do not pay off, and particularly the Outer Worlds 2 is such a shame. Like how does that function in today's Microsoft where, oh, you're taking money away and you're not making any for us and you're not going toward AI? Okay, bye. Or we're shrinking you down. So I worry a little bit about that stuff, but there's a lot of information to pull out here with the Year of Obsidian, Cog. I'm curious as to what the major takeaway from this was for you.
First of all, shout out to Obsidian for this unparalleled level of transparency that I have not really seen from a lot of developers as far as their process. And I think the thing that I got from it immediately was that they viewed, hey, we have to take ownership of the 3 games in 1 year as a mistake and not something to do from a resource standpoint and stretching themselves thin. Obviously we got confirmation about the 30%, right? And I thought that was big to at least confirm people's suspicions that Microsoft does, have this target. Now, what I did think was interesting was Fergus' response to that, because he basically was like, he doesn't feel that's unfeasible. He actually feels like the 30% is actually fair, because I'm going to see his quote, because I think I do subscribe to Bloomberg. So he says, for me, it's open, so I'll just read what it says. It says, for Obsidian, the targets don't seem unfeasible as long as they continue experimenting. That's the key. They want to be able to experiment. Pentiment, the studio's 2022 adventure game, was cheap to make, critically acclaimed, and niche, but still profitable. The hope, Urquhart says, is that Xbox continues to fund riskier projects and values achievements besides strong sales, even if it means accepting that maybe when we are going to be from a profitability standpoint, isn't going to be 30%. And he said, pretty much,
when he said it, like he mentions the 30%, right?
Yeah, so, it's mentioned. Like, we got confirmation. That Microsoft Gaming, who were trying to downplay that there is no such thing, internally they are saying opposite, that there is such a thing. Now, what surprised me was that they didn't feel like it was that much of a stress in a sense that, like, from a business standpoint, they were like, hey, our job, all of us, to make games that people want to play and buy. And if we continue to do that, then we'll have a solid business. The key now is going to be for them is the development cycle, and how they make games. Because what we were told prior was like, hey, we want to make these kind of like, don't want to go into this open world thing. We want to still have our uniqueness. We still want to have our identity, but we don't necessarily have to divulge into this AAA space. And we want to make these kind of specific type of experiences. I do feel that when you have an Outer Worlds 2 and you have an Avowed, and they don't commercially hit. Now, Avowed, we know single platform. We know the development hell that went through. They were trying to make it some Destiny cooperative thing. And then we know the history, right? And it launched on one platform and it didn't have the breakout success that they expected, right? Then you have Outer Worlds 2, which is the markedly polished, better game, right? And it launched multi-platform and it still didn't hit. Now, we have our reasons, $80 price tag, this, that, and the third. But I think it is fair to say when you have those 3 games and Grounded, the game that's in preview, is the hit, right? It makes you kind of rethink things. So to me, this is interesting. Do I feel after reading this, they're in serious trouble? Actually, I don't. But they have to make a pivot in terms of how they develop in this world of Microsoft. And I think it is fair to say, and I'm curious how you feel about it, is that one of my only, I love the Black Rock with my heart. Like that, these are my people. Like, I love them. It is fair to say maybe not going for the rah-rah AAA thing is maybe now becoming say a detriment, but you know what I'm saying? Because maybe you do need to now shoot for the star, because it's clear as day in Microsoft's gaming world, they need mega hits. Yeah. That's what they need. Yeah. When you live in a world where Call of Duty has a bad year, right? And this represents so much a percentage of your profits that their quarter goes down, right? You need games like Avowed, Outer Worlds 2. You need something to hit. And I think that's the problem. I think we're in the thing with them. I think this is a fair criticism. I'm going to call it down the line. That it's okay, like, yeah, you have a 7 or 8 kind of game, and it's good, and people like it, but is it selling copies? Is it making people want to purchase on a mass scale? I have to have that. And I think that's what now kind of separates them, let's say, from a Larian or, you know what I mean? Even, let's be honest, even a Bethesda, because we can say what we want to say about Bethesda.
Their games sell.
Their games sell. That's the thing. So maybe now my question with them, with the BlackRock is, do you change your strategy so that you do go for it? But at the same time, you got these development timelines. It's an interesting thing. I will say, I spoke behind the scenes to some people there, you know what I'm saying? And, I'm not going to divulge too much, but all I will say is that some of my concerns and things that I've been really pushing for those who listen to the Fighting Duke a lot, things I want for them are being serious considered, and to the point where they've been wanting to chomp at the bit like, Cog, we hear what you talking about. And without promising, look out for us on our new projects what we got cooking. So that gave
You're going to make a full romance game, guys. This is what we're seeing.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. I just say for those who know me and know the things that I want from this studio, you know what I'm saying? I just hope that they can do these things and then get that critical acclaim, because it is needed. I was surprised Pentiment was profitable. Pentiment, how small it probably was. It probably didn't cost them that, but I was surprised it was profitable, because I was told prior to that people were like, yo, why the hell did you make it? Microsoft internally was super bad, but apparently it was profitable. But yeah, we can't have a situation. Last thing I'll say, we can't have a situation where you drop 3 games. Only one of them is profitable from the standpoint of game preview. That says a lot. It's a game preview game that got profitable, right? Yeah. And then, the 2 mega hits, the big boys didn't deliver the way, you want them to deliver. So we'll see what happens. I like that they're staying in the Avowed universe. I like that we're still going to get Outer Worlds DLC content, but we need that new IP that really goes for it to kind of put them to potentially, let's be honest, where Playground may be trending now. You know what I'm saying? But what do you think about reading, all this? This was a lot. This is a big article from Jason and transparency from Obsidian.
Yeah. Man, their solution's right in fucking front of them. And I just don't know if there's any time to do it, bro. It's time to pitch a Fallout game. I'm sorry, but I can't think of a more sure bet 30% hit that puts you guys back in a good standing. And they're kind of talking the right talk right now. They're saying we just need to make great games if people want to play. What do we learn from this? They're in that acceptance phase. They're in the learning phase. They're still staying students of the game, which I think is a key to success for all these teams. No matter how many games you release, you're still staying a student. I think, with some of the how they've made their games recently, there's a little bit of getting away from what made them truly special. I never played Obsidian games for perfect, shiny polish. It's the same thing. What you say about Obsidian applies immediately to Bethesda every time. These two are very much in the same bed together, which is why people always want them to collab, because it's you guys were made for each other. You guys have so many of the same, outside of choice and consequence, they have very similar ideology. But for them, I don't know if they're gimmicking the whole 30% profit margin or something. Pentiment technically hits it. It sells 20,000 copies, just as a random number out there, but it did make 30%, man. It did make their cut. And that's all they've got to do. And they can kind of use that against the shareholders, or if they got to make real money with that 30%. But I think, look, dude, the Outer Worlds team completely proved themselves and made an amazing RPG. My only critique was, again, the companions. Yeah. It just, especially because they didn't leave the companions as optional like they did for something such as New Vegas and trusted the player to come and find them. They funneled the entire second half of the story into that. But the first half of the Outer Worlds 2 is incredible. I remember talking to you, Kyle, and be like, bro, I was I think they are way back. The second half tempered me a little bit, where I went, okay, great game, and I'm excited to see what you do next. But that showed me with the skill checking, the so-and-so, remember that, the deep, rich, reactive conversation system, their mindset of yeah, we don't need to reinvent the whole inventory system. Bro, they have, I've said it a million times, I'm going to say it again though, they have the whole entire Fallout New Vegas archetype in Outer Worlds. Yeah. If someone in Obsidian is not being yo, let's go, let's do this. We have the talent. We got people who love Fallout. We built a whole game based on Fallout because we can't do Fallout. Fallout's hot. There's no new Fallout product. And we're trying to asset flip shit. I'm sorry, dude, but the fact that RPG team is going to be sitting there with their hands empty, if they are not, after this DLC, spinning up a new Fallout project, that is a guaranteed success. Guaranteed. Obsidian back with Fallout. They can't get out of any interview, bro. This is the first interview I'll put it out there. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. This is the first interview I've ever seen where they got out of it without someone asking about New Vegas 2. It was not brought up in this article. Right. Every other interview, bro, you could be launching Avowed 4, you could be launching Outer Worlds 20, you could be doing Grounded 5. No one fucking cares because they always go, and yeah, what about New Vegas 2, bro? They're the only company that gets that wild treatment because everyone's like, you're kind of dodging what everyone's expecting from you. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get aggressive about it, but I'm looking at them like, yo, if your back's against the wall, break the glass. Like it's right there.
But do they own the glass? They don't own the glass to break. That's the problem.
Their boss owns the glass. Their best friend owns the glass.
You gotta talk to your bandwidth man. Your bandwidth man, bro. He don't want to share the keys to the Black Rock.
If I get a hold of him, we'll have a long chat. I'm just saying though, I think there's a world where this can happen. Now, if it's not in their hands, right, and they can't literally make a whole pitch deck that doesn't even require the assets for a new Fallout game, but instead tweet 1 fucking million about New Vegas 2, being like, hey, this is an in-demand project. Hey, this is an in-demand project. Hey, this is an in-demand project.
Been outside. I got to defend them, bro. I got a cape. I got to throw the cape off for the Black Rock. Fergus has been
out. I'm not grilling them in a negative way. No, I agree. I love that they are out there and being loud about it, but I'm saying like now's the time. Like if they haven't pushed, dude, look, put it this way. They made Microsoft out to be liars, right? They're already breaking rules. I'm just saying, put it fucking out there at this point. Be like, yeah, they won't let us.
Oh, you talking about going?
Yeah, snitch.
You went to the snitch in the house.
Like that's where I'm going with this. All right, I should be a little more direct. Snitch.
Okay, now I see where you're going.
If it's really coming down to like Todd won't let us, let's talk about it, bro.
Yeah, you got to take it up with Todd. And them.
Inside baseball. I went to Xbox with an interview pitch and I said, I am tired of seeing every interview dance around New Vegas 2. It's always like, yeah, we love Fallout. And it takes away from their own games. I said, sit down with me because I have a huge Fallout audience. Let's talk about this openly. What gets in the way? Do you guys not want to do it? Why? Do you want to do it? Why? Like I pitched it like a whole 2 paragraphs and just, I want to get down to the why. I got no response. But, like, that's what I'm trying to advocate for here. Like, let's get to it. Because to me right now, as a fan, I see it as an option. If it's not an option, that changes the whole situation here. Sure. But when I look at your team and I'm like, okay, you've got John Gonzalez, you have Josh Sawyer, you have Fergus Urquhart, like you've got everyone except Avalon. Right. I'm like, okay, and Avalon again. What's up?
Cain is in the building back.
Cain, sorry, yeah, thank you. Cain's back. The crew's there, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I think Avalon's pen is irreplaceable, but you've got about as close to the greatest team you could have right now. If the Outer Worlds 2 is anything to go by, plus that leadership to take another crack at Fallout before it's time's up. So that would be my solution to them. If they can't do that, they're going to Avowed 2. Now that we know this is the case, let's speak a little more matter of fact about this. I get it because I feel like the ceiling could be higher here. Whereas Outer Worlds 2, I think, addressed almost every complaint about the first one and sold considerably less. Like if your first game sells 5 million copies and then your second game goes down to like below 1 million, it upsets me greatly, but I would not blame them for being like, we got to do something else. Like there's like a third game's going to sell 500,000 copies, even if we make that at our cheapest,
right?
Or in our best case scenario, it doubles this, 1.5 million, that's not enough. So it's a heartbreaker to see the series go out like this because I think the Outer Worlds is just fantastic.
Hell yeah.
But I get it because the ceiling's higher for Avowed. Avowed is a few key tweaks away from being the game that I want it to be. Like starting as a single player game, I think if Outer Worlds 2 is anything to go by, will do Avowed 2 wonders. Like be in just my most open-minded state. I've talked my shit about their writing team and whatnot, but my most open-minded state, man, if they start as a single player studio or start as a single player game, I think that'll do wonders for it. If the combat isn't easy to break, like I like the combat systems, it feels good, but I was able to break it like that. If they start fleshing out those mechanics more with more like enemy diversity and combat archetypes and feasible ways to play that don't break the game, now we're really cooking. Those are like 2 little changes. Everything else, like the map size, the exploration, the element interaction, those could stay the same. But if you have that plus true choice and consequence, and for the love of God, better companions, please. You could.
I think honestly, not to interrupt you, but I do think that's an Obsidian problem. Yeah. I feel like that's where
it's been tough.
Yeah, like they got to work on that companion connection. I feel like their games, some of their campaigns are just there, as opposed to I really feel a deep connection to their. I think that's a fair criticism.
I agree, and yeah, like otherwise though, like I think the ceiling is higher for Avowed, where you're wondering like, hey, what if? You know, and I think you could dream a little bit with that. I don't think you can dream with an Outer Worlds 3. I think the expectation, fairly so, was Outer Worlds 2 will fill the void for Fallout, and we're going to get like 5 million sales off this thing. But the fact that they didn't even get close to that, it seems like it's hard to believe they even broke 1 million again. Like that's insane.
Sad if that didn't happen. Wow.
And I feel bad for them a little bit because they got sandbagged a bit. Like we think about the $80 price tag, killed interest. Obsidian having a rough year before that, like that game, I could sit here and argue as well, like you should give the Outer Worlds 3 a chance, but this industry loves to like just bury the body immediately, bro. It's just like, all right, put him in the casket, like he's been dead, like let's go, like that. And so I think that's kind of what it comes down to. By that I just mean like there's no comeback story to be had here. Like the game was great enough on its own merits to I think win people over, but I think just interest got killed, busy holiday season. And that's all there was to it. Bad trailers too, you know, just a lot really hurt that game. And it's a shame, but they're in a really interesting spot. So I'm curious to see where they go beyond Avowed. Like, again, for me, it's really that Outer Worlds 2 team, because I think they showed they got the chops, and I just give them a Fallout game, bro. But if they're not getting them a Fallout game, a new IP would be interesting. Tim Kaine said he's working on something you're not going to guess.
That's what I heard.
I'm thinking that's probably what it's going to be. And that, I mean, we all thought it might be like an Arcanum spiritual successor or something like that. And that could be pretty neat too. Like pretty much what Brian Fargo's doing right now, honestly. But I think from Obsidian, that would also be kind of neat. So yeah, we'll see, bro. But like, I think also last thing is I think part of the reason they could go with Avowed is maybe that's a little bit easier of a flip of assets. I don't know. But it's like a lot more generic environments and like textures and pieces that they could just like use to build more levels quickly and get to testing. I don't know. I'm really curious to see where they end up, but it looks like we're going to see them kind of space these releases out, and that we probably won't see anything from them in a significant way until 29, you know?
I don't know. I'm curious. I'm very curious because the thing is their output is pretty fast, but if they're changing that, right? And now they realize, hey, you know, let's really space this out. Let's keep the bandwidth of the team and the health of the team more as a factor. I'm with you on the Avowed 2. You know how I feel about it, right? So it's like, I already know from a foundational standpoint, to me, the casual audience, in my opinion, resonates with that as a Skyrim light, so to speak. And I feel like there's so much potential there. And we do know that Pillars universe is something they want to go back to. They have the lore and things they want to play with there. So that's the first thing. But I do think they probably got a new IP cooking that I'm very curious to see how much they challenge themselves to get into that essence. I'm with you all the way on Vegas 2. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I think they know they want that, you know what I'm saying, as much as possible. And then again, in a perfect world, maybe it's a situation if, you know, Phil is able to do things that he's normally used to be able to do, right? To be able to force that to happen, because that to me, it does just seems like a slam dunk. You know what I'm saying? It just seems so, it makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? Clearly Obsidian wants to do it. You know, clearly the desire from the fans are there. It just comes down to Mr. Bandwidth and how, you know, we can get these guys in the room. And, you know, I'm just going to call him Mr. Bandwidth. You know what I'm saying? The God of bandwidth. We got to see, you know what I'm saying, if he's able to do that, because to me, this makes perfect sense. At minimum, you know, let them explore one of their greatest collaborations with you in that franchise that many people feel as the peak version of it, right? That would be ideal. And then obviously Grounded, we know, is a hit for the most part. They're taking the feedback. They're going to do well with that. That'll rock out probably as their next year game to fully launch feature, and they'll be fine. But I want that hardcore outside of Avowed, which I love. I'm talking about, I want a new IP from them that really, really pushes it. I want some, I'm gonna be selfish. I want some, I'm looking at it in exile with the jealous eye, like, man, that's what I want. You know what I'm saying? From The Rock. Like, I want The Rock to be doing that type of level, that glow up, that level of go all out. And if it take, you know what I'm saying, a 4 or 5, I'm willing to wait 4 or 5 for that. You know what I'm saying? That's just where I'm at with it. I really want them to push the boundary. I think they're so capable of so much. And again, I know their prior thought process. Yo, hub world is what we do. But here's the reality, the harsh truth. The masses ain't feeling it the way you may, you know what I'm saying, have wanted this thing to blow. We got to be real about that part. You know what I'm saying? It's just not for whatever reason. So maybe you got to go all out to get the respect you deserve. That's just where I'm at.
Do you think Avowed's going to do that? Like Avowed 2? I think it goes from those kind of hub areas to something more truly open?
I don't know, though. Because again, they're in such a weird spot with Avowed because Avowed had such a tumultuous development cycle, right? And to me, it's like, if you Outer Worlds 2 Avowed, in my mind, you're good, right? You take everything that Outer Worlds 2 does well with choice of consequence, and obviously you talk about the combat and the enemy design and all that stuff. I think you're fine.
Yeah.
But there is a part of me that I have to say, even though I like these games and we like Outer Worlds 2, what is not resonating with the masses? Why is it not?
Characters, IP, lore. I think the lore for Outer Worlds 2 is very underrated, but I think characters are the big part. Like, I think they don't have characters that you're attaching to. You have worlds that you can get into, but there's no characters. Like, that's why BioWare thrived, right? Like, you had characters. So I agree. I think if they can solve that, I mean, there's a reason. Again, let's think of like their last big RPG success, Outer Worlds 1, Parvati. Like,
Parvati,
I don't know. Like, I'm not saying she sold all those copies, but I think there's a level of like, there's someone you can get attached to here that you can learn about, you know, you can care about.
Yes. Like when you look at the Larians, you know, the Shadow Hearts and the, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's these characters you go, okay, yes. And I think they got to dip into that bag. So, and also, what's up with the guard? Like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I feel like Josh Sawyer's talking from leader. Like, he's one of the best in the biz. Where's the Sawyer involvement? Like, I feel like he's in executive hat mode, but like, is he really in the trenches anymore? Like,
yeah, it's tough to tell what his day-to-day is. I don't know, because he's like, I don't know if it's one of those situations where because he holds a position of such seniority that he's spending more time managing people than working on the games. And maybe that's why, I mean, when we interviewed him, he kind of indicated like he twisted Xbox's arm, like, give me Pentiment or I'm out. Like, he wanted to get that out of his system. And maybe that's all the guy needed, really. Like, he was like, I don't want to work on another Fallout game. I want to like just do something like Pentiment, and like, I'll manage people after that for until whenever the non-compete expires. But, you know, yeah, I agree. If this is a guy who is available to direct the project, you know, again, the thing I grow a little flustered about with Obsidian is like, they have the talent that's still there to define them. And maybe that talent, because they're getting older, they don't want to do it as much. They want to pass the torch, because guys like Brandon Adler have shown, like, again, like, he can do really well. They can both do really well. So it's like, okay, they've got vision. But then one of your directors that you were kind of molding through Outer Worlds and narrative design and DLC direction was Carrie Patel. She's out now. So who's filling those shoes? Especially like that seems like a Sawyer thing to do, because Sawyer and her were like the heartbeat of the Pillars franchise. So yeah, like if Sawyer is willing, I would hope they're going to use him.
Oh, I need that, bro. You got to get one of the goats in the booth and let him drop the track, man. Let him do what he did. See, the last thing I'll say is where I'm conflicted is that the philosophy changed to me, the why they got into that 3 games a year was like, yo, we make smaller, inexpensive stuff so we can afford to whatever. But now that strategy is proven not to be profitable, right? For the most part. So now you kind of got to go in. That's how I look at it.
So the only thing I disagree with that is like, I think the strategy would work, but the problem is they made those size games over like 6 or 7 years. You know, like I think the problem was like, I think the article referenced like COVID and a couple other hiccups stopping them. They didn't really get into why these things fully took so long. I mean, in the case of Avowed, it's a lot more obvious, right? Like Avowed, we know they took the multiplayer out, that extended the game. It got a new director, that extended the game. Something like Outer Worlds 2, I don't really understand what took so long, unless it was a good thing, because Outer Worlds 2 has such like rich dialogue trees and storylines and a faction storyline and multiple endings. Like, maybe just from fleshing it out more and more and expanding. I mean, the scope of the planets is way bigger. The gunplay's better. The loot's better. Loot in that game's fucking incredible. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm underselling.
God, like incredible.
I wonder if that game just took a while because they thought it was going to be a big home run swing. It was a developer direct game. It got the IGN first coverage. It got like, maybe that's just why it took so long. So you got two situations here where like two different ends of the spectrum potentially. I feel like their thing could still, like their whole strategy could still work. I just think, unfortunately, they hit some speed bumps or made some bad calls. Like when it seems like when they sold their company off to Xbox, part of the pitch to sell to Xbox is like, we're going to make Skyrim meets Destiny.
Yeah.
And I love Sawyer's quote in this article because he literally said, I read this and said, there's no team on the planet that can do this. He immediately was like, yeah, it ain't happening. But they managed to sell off to Xbox because of that. Xbox bought in on the promise, and then Avowed never came to fruition in the way that it was sold off as.
Now, here's the thing, too, in the article, because I'm got a chance to refocus. Urquhart, he's actually doing something. I got to give credit, though. Grooming successors. He said the two lieutenants.
Yeah, I like that.
To go to bid is Justin Bridge and I like Marcus Morgan. I don't know if you got a chance to speak to Marcus. Marcus is awesome. Like Marcus is the one that was when I was talking on Grounded too.
He shaved head.
The brother, I believe, I don't know if he shaved his head. Maybe at the time when I talked to him, he had hair. So I don't know if he shaved his head recently.
But I'm completely thinking of someone different.
When I talked to him, I liked the energy. Like he knew his game front to back. I had very pointed questions when it came to Grounded to see how much they took the feedback and where they're going with it. And I liked what he was saying. He was really direct. So what I like what Fergus is doing is, one, setting up the future. Two, realizing like, yo, we may have made some mistakes. Like, do we have to rebuild every asset and stuff to cut on these development times and stuff like that? So let's see, man. I'm pulling for the thing that I'm really hopeful about them is they're self-aware. Usually when a studio is that self-aware, that gives me hope. Not that it guarantees it, but it gives me hope that course correction and they'll do what they got to do. But yeah, this was a very important read. I was shocked to see that.
You bringing that up just remind me of one last point is what they seem to kind of, at least from, again, as a reader, kind of may have been allured by is like they kind of had the Microsoft bag to be like, we could rebuild this. We could do this. We could do that. And I think the coulds turned into action. Yeah. And they got sucked in the same way. But the only difference is we didn't feel that as much because we got like a Pentiment. We got it Grounded, right? They were still here and present in smaller ways, but they were still here. And so I think that made the difference where we didn't register it until now. This article really changes, I think, all of the perspective in the world of like, maybe they did kind of taste that money life and, you know, they just had good output in general, regardless of that. But it's interesting to see that they are self-aware. I had never really had a huge doubt about that, but you know, again, without getting totally into it, the Avowed pre-launch situation did have a little bit of that, like, what's going on here, guys? Like, we're really going to keep doing this. We're going to really keep strolling this guy out here. So, you know, like I worried about that, but seeing this type of interview, recovering from the year, it seemed like they wanted to exhale, rethink it all. And I like where their heads are at. I have optimism for them moving forward. I mean, I know for me, at least Avowed was like a bump in the road, but I don't really, outside of that, have any major concerns about them. So I'm excited to see what they do next.
Same, likewise.
All right, Cog. This next one is actually another gifted article link, but this time The Verge is cool. They actually let me use your gifted article link. How about that? So today we're taking a look at AMD's hints at next-gen launch plans for the Xbox. The quote is, development of Microsoft's next-gen Xbox featuring an AMD semi-custom SoC is progressing well to support a launch in 2027. This was according to AMD CEO Lisa Su, who spoke on an earnings call today. The Verge writes that the brief comment doesn't confirm Microsoft will launch a new Xbox in 2027, but it does reveal that AMD is ready to support a launch then if Microsoft is also ready. And keep in mind that AMD and Microsoft did announce their partnership just last year where they were like, you know, hey, we're going to work with AMD to do the next generation of Xbox here. So Cog, with this in mind, how are we feeling? Will Xbox come out in 2027 with a new bit of hardware?
That is the question. I will say this. My gut feeling when I heard this news, this is a controlled snitch leak. And the reason why I say it is because I feel like they know they have been under so much fire with the financials. Revenue, 30%, revenue down. And now I remember we talked last time for the first time, games and services, and we're like, whoa, right?
Yeah,
here's the thing. Lisa is straight snitching. Like there's no need to be like, yeah, and our partner development of Microsoft's first, it's coming out, it's progressing. Like, we know AMD has contracts also with PlayStation, right? Mm-hmm. But she didn't mention the PlayStation, the next generation hardware, everybody's coming together, looking nice.
Phil slid a check and was like, do us a solid, let people know we still out here.
Somebody slid somebody, because again, you mean to tell me Microsoft is comfortable with them, just free flowing their business, what I'm saying, kind of thing.
Too. Yeah, you're right. I never really thought of it this way, but yeah, I think you're right.
This is a control. Like, people are worried about us. We need to, calm the masses that it is still coming. Now, we do know it's going to be a pricey situation. We ain't fooling ourselves. But the thing about this, my gut is telling me they are getting ready to talk, and they want to calm the masses down with this. And listen, all I care about, baby, is this a little internal thing I have an IOP, me and King kind of going at it, is that because he believes in OEMs. And, I believe, trust me, I know they're going to continue to do OEM devices, but like, he's not of the belief that they will make a Microsoft first. Oh no, this is the straight stitching. Like this is literally the partner saying, bro, your first party joint, it's coming together, man. We can't wait.
Do Xbox,
Literally, so it don't get no more clearer. Now, granted that it's happening. Now, granted, of course, the world could blow up tomorrow, anything else. But as of now, this is as clear as day, right? So all I say now is, do we get a reveal of some form this year to hype up potentially next year? And I will say this, it doesn't guarantee that it's coming out the Xbox at the end of 2027. But at least that was the perceived initial window when they did these contracts, that's what they had in pencil, when they was going to do it. It could maybe come out top of 2028 or, in 2028. But at least this tells me in 2027, contractually, this is when this thing is supposed to be happening. That's what I get from it. So all I care about is first generation. I don't really care about no OEM device. All I care about is the hardware going with me in a console-like experience. And if you want to add on full screen experience after that and do that, that's fine. Give me my library and everything that I came with so I can exit into this train. This is where I would like my off-ramp to be. That's where I'm at with it. So that's all I care about.
Yeah. You're totally on the money. I think that this is I like the term controlled snitch. When it comes to Microsoft and their next Xbox, 2027 is interesting because, again, we just saw the report that PlayStation was going beyond 28. So when I see something like this, it seems like they're trying to firm up in any place they can, like they need to come out in 27. Because as I've said before, I think my concern, it might be a little bit of what they're feeling internally, which is like, if we continue to have hardware down after every quarter, and this thing gets delayed and it's going to cost Microsoft more money than they've allocated for, then someone's going to look around and be like, why are we still doing this? Like, and I always go back to that because I'm like, I don't see how it hasn't already happened. But that aside, you speaking about a reveal this year, we've always thought to ourselves, what is that summer direct going to hold? Right?
I didn't think about
that. What if it was a big hardware focused thing, like just a big, like, this is the next generation of hardware, this is what we're thinking, like going that loud about it. I don't know if it would overturn the doubters, but at least it's a more interesting commitment than what we've seen with like Sarah Bond in a 1-minute Twitter video, or an interview, or here's us letting a news reporter in to tour our console manufacturing like factories that we're still making hardware. Like they're doing everything except, like, what if they did a big presentation that showed the next Xbox, what they were thinking? Maybe this is too big, I'm thinking right now, for ultimately what they're ready to show by the following year. But I'm just wondering if that could be a developer direct candidate instead of software, it's hardware.
You may be onto something. I didn't even think about it because, to your point, there's so much software that they have to cover for this, 25th anniversary. But hardware dedicates its own platform like that. Yeah, that definitely necessitates that. Like, there's no question. So you can prepare that. And that's one thing they're good about is hardware and controllers, as far as like that nice snappy vignette, you get people talking, you show a chipset, you show a controller. Remember all these leaks that we had and all this stuff and all these advancements on how this is going to take gaming from. You will not mention the price because you know you ain't ready to talk about that. But you can get into the core concepts and that code name, Code Scorpio, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And really start selling the vision that, hey, it's coming, because it's clear as day, you are not making any more Series X's and S's. You are out of that, right? Yeah. So now you want to get the hype and then control the narrative of all the negative hardware news, all the revenue stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's how you kind of get things going. You roll the train and then you have all these great games for the Xbox 25. I could see that you could be onto something. I didn't even think about that. That makes perfect sense to do a direct about, right?
Yeah, like if there's a bunch of OEMs involved too, like you can just throw it all together. That may be a 27 thing, but like I feel that could have its own window in the showcase, and like that would feel like a statement. Yes. You know, more than what they've done before, which is just like PR and lip service, like an actual full presentation, showing it, stripping it down. And just showing like everything this thing is made of and what they're doing and what their goals are and how they're thinking about it. But obviously with this being a kind of hybrid console and just sort of our experience with Windows thus far, it's like I've never been like a Windows doomer, but it is like the first time where like as I set up this new PC here, I set up my laptop behind me, and it's like the first time I've started to have some real issues where I'm starting to see the noise around Windows grow across the internet. And I don't know if it's reached like the masses, but I think for this system, they really got to prove that like merging with Windows is going to be a good thing, not a terrible thing. So they also might want to stay quiet right now because it feels like the anti-Windows sentiment is like really booming at this moment.
It is interesting, right? Because to your point, right, they've got to navigate the challenge of a closed console ecosystem box merging with an open platform kind of PC kind of energy. And this is a box that we're going to be able to go between both worlds, right? That is an undertaking. Let's not minimize. That has never been done before. And it is imperative for them to show how seamless and easy this is and to service both user bases, right? So that's key. My only prediction, as I said, with the control leak stuff, my gut is still telling me they are ready to talk a lot this year. Like they because you putting this out there to me screams you're ready to say more and more. And I'm starting to lean towards, 2026 really being a reveal year, maybe as we get later on, saying as to what plans may be. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right.
All right. Well, let's see. They are a little chatty this year. They certainly got a lot to show off to bask any noise that they make this year that otherwise would take over some headlines. But let's get into this last article here, Cog, because it did interest me quite a bit. Xbox Series X and S are the 5th most desired platform to be developing for right now. So similar to the State of the Games Industry report that we covered earlier in regards to AI, this is the same one. They polled over 2,300 games industry professionals. Again, went into AI, workplace trends, that sort of stuff here. And what we got was this chart here. And the chart was what platforms most interest you as a developer right now. Now, by the way, when I list out these platforms and their percentages, keep in mind that it's not just check one and move on. You can check as many that apply. So you can check all of these I'm about to go through. So let's read the percentages. PC is at 80%. By and large, the leader. Wow. PlayStation 5 or PS5 Pro is at 40%, as is Steam Deck, which I thought was a little interesting there. Steam Deck was right there next to the PS5. Nintendo Switch 2, brand new system, just came out in 2025. 39%. So just a touch below the PS5. So you're right in that company. Consoles are all the rave. Xbox, Series X and S, 20%. That's already half what we just had for the PS5 and almost half of the Switch 2. So not a good look. Right next to Xbox. And I think this really says a lot. 16% Android, 16% iOS, 13% Switch 1. Thought that'd be a little bit higher, not going to lie. Tabletop games are 12%. Linux and Mac and VR/AR sit at 12%. Web browsers at 10%. The Xbox One is at 9%. The Xbox Ally, 7%. PlayStation Plus, 6%. Playdate, I have no idea what the hell that is, 6%. Xbox Cloud Gaming, 5%. Media platforms like Netflix and TikTok, 4%. User-created platforms like Roblox and whatnot, 4%. Others are for 1%. And then other PC handhelds like the Lenovo Go are 2%. So, Cog, when you see these stats here for this poll of over 2,300 developers that have actually shipped a product, what do you think when you see Xbox that low?
You know what I see? I see what Satya said. You know, it's in the Ernest go always talk about is because PC we're doing this. They want to merge this thing into PC. They want to get over there immediately because that's what they're trying to get more of a hold of the market of. This is not surprising. The only thing surprising to me is just the allocation on how they separate all the platforms, because you would think they would put PlayStation 5 and PlayStation Plus, all together. You know what I'm saying? And it is interesting that Series X, Xbox One, ROG Ally, and cloud gaming are all separate individual things, because I think they kind of combats each other. Not that it's making excuses. No one's not going to shoot that to the top of the list, but it will definitely make the percentage higher. So I do have a little issue with the fact that each version of the Xbox platform is split and allocated this way. But look, we can't avoid the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is PC and your other console platforms, right? Being as high as they are. So if the other platforms are high as they are, it shows what I've always said, which is kind of like the brand degradation, right? We're not going to ignore what's going on here. So when I see that, I see a company that has been pivoting to play anywhere in PC and putting the OS into the thing, as opposed to being a dedicated console manufacturer. So I think that's what I know. This is not indicative of the entire industry. This is a sample size, but I think it's fair to extrapolate. The brand is not where the brand was at. I think there's no rocket science there. So that's what I see. I see them kind of metamorphosizing into what they plan on doing. This PC/console thing that happens to have a console that we still are a publisher per se, and we're putting our games there. That to me seems right along line with this, in my opinion, but not too surprised.
Yeah, I think it justifies the strategy, because developers are seemingly less interested, at least if this is a stat to gauge the industry at large by. Developers are less interested in bringing their games to Xbox. We see this with a lot of like AA and indie games where, hey, we have to pick our platforms, and more people are buying games on Steam, PlayStation, and Switch right now. And for some reason, every time this pops up on social media, I get the Xbox community getting upset about it, but I don't know why they take a run at smaller developers who have limited resources and want to go bring their game to a platform that they have the best chance to live off of. Like, it's not a disrespect toward you as someone who plays a lot of Xbox. Like, it's not, but people take it that way. And I understand the second-class citizen treatment is bothersome. And I think Microsoft's solution is the right one. Ultimately, by merging with PC, you solve the problem of when you make a PC game, you make an Xbox game. It's just that simple. So by association, by definition, they don't have to worry about will a developer make the game for our platform, right? Like, one of the things that hurt them early in this generation was like people who were JRPG fans who had Xboxes. They're like, yo, dude, like, I'm not getting any of these games. Well, if it's released on PC, which a lot of them are, then you're on Xbox. Right. And I think that's a great move, because again, this gets them out of a sticky situation. This is similar to what Phil talked about, where how like there was a parallel between things like the Series S and the Xbox Ally or the Steam Deck, where it's like, hey, if you made a Steam Deck SKU, like we see here, there's 40% interest in the Steam Deck. You might be interested in that, but because you made that SKU for the Steam Deck, I'm not saying it's 1-to-1, but that's easier to bring over to your Series S version, right? All of these take time and money and resources. I don't think there's much of an excuse for AAA developers who have all the money and can make their games reach all platforms. But I'm not about to guilt trip AA or indie games that cannot make it for Xbox. A lot of people do. But I think this shows that what Xbox is doing is the right choice given the state of their platform. Like, developers do not find their platform hot to develop for unless you have excess cash. So it's like, okay, we have to work around the artists who make our industry go around. How do we do that? You merge Xbox with PC and you just make it all one thing. So there's no longer an Xbox SKU and a PC SKU. There's just a PC SKU, and then you've by proxy made an Xbox game. So I think it's the right call.
Yeah, I think, and they've been flirting with that verbiage, right? We've been seeing Xbox PC as verbiage, right? We've been seeing these type of terminologies where they're kind of making these things synonymous with each other. And the last thing I'll say is that even though the Xbox audience is tremendously smaller than the others, what we have seen in the data is they have a stickiness with certain subgenres. And for example, like when you look at, the shooter bro kind of guys, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you see the Call of Duty still do well and all these other things still do well. And obviously the Helldivers and stuff do it. So there's a certain, what I realize is that even though they are less, certain specific genres, they monetize. You can over monetize this group because they will go extra hard for it. But to your point, when it comes to what I consider these, I don't want to say niche titles, but like the JRPGs or things outside of that dude bro sports shooter box kind of thing, it's harder. So who am I us to get mad at AA or smaller indie developer that says, yo, we got one shot at this point. Let's put it here, on Twitch and PlayStation, and then we'll deal with the aftermath. To Xbox credit, they've improved that this generation, but I agree with you that the pivot is clearly for the long term of the platform to do this and kind of synergize with PC.
Completely. I was a little surprised by the Xbox Ally being low compared to like if the Steam Deck's at 40%. I thought the Xbox Ally would be a little higher. Like,
not with that $1,000.
I know, but I'm thinking like the parallels again. I'm like, this, is it really like that much of a? Maybe I'm underestimating it. Like I thought that this would be sort of in line with the other handhelds.
I guess because of the install base, bro. Like the Steam is still Steam, and the fact that there is just more of an adoption rate and affinity for Linux as opposed to, again, a pseudo handheld that's an OEM device that doesn't do all the Xbox games. And so you still got this friction, right? Until they decide to do their own thing. And then you got the price point, which makes the install base lower. So not too surprised, but I get what I get you saying.
Yeah. But otherwise, Cog, that's the news for the week, man.
Yeah, man.
That's all we've got. So what are we feeling for a hashtag this week?
Got a lot, man. We went in on what's up, man? Mr. Bandwidth. We had
I do like Mr. Bandwidth.
DD Bandwidth was something.
DD Bandwidth. I like that. Mr. Bandwidth.
It kept coming up.
It did keep coming up, right? Mr. Bandwidth was a little bit involved in the Year of Obsidian. Could have been prevented if only he had a little bit more bandwidth.
A little bit more, man.
Yeah, I like that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you got this deep into the show, use the hashtag DD Bandwidth. Let us know your thoughts on Twitter. I'm at G27status. Cog is at Lord Cognito. You can tag us over there. We look forward to reading your thoughts. Otherwise, you can use the comment section below, hashtag DD Bandwidth. And we look forward to reading your thoughts there too. Otherwise, Cog, it's time to get on out of here. Any final thoughts before we officially close up shop for the week?
Another fantastic Duke. Great topic. A lot of topics today. Oh, God. Yeah. We had a lot of heavy hitting stuff going on, and the industry is popping. I got a lot of stuff cooking as far as stuff I'm supposed to be attending and little events and stuff. So be on the lookout for content and, my thoughts on trying to learn more, the deeper, go straight to the sources with the developers. I think that is something I really want to attack this year. And I'm really excited for the things I got planned. So stay tuned for some stuff cooking.
All right. Keep it locked in on Lords of Gaming and everything Iron Lords. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. We'll be back next week for episode 267 of Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. But until then, take great care of yourselves and peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.